All right, guys, I want to welcome everybody today to this leads training, the art and science of using leads. Best just shake your head or give me a thumbs up to know that you can hear me and everything's coming in clear. Okay, fantastic. So what we're going to be doing is, this is just kind of the highlights here, understanding the direct sales industry. I think it's really important to actually understand the industry you're in. So that way you know what you're competing against. I can't count the number of people that I have sat down within this industry, and I mean the industry of direct sales total, and they don't actually understand, or they have a lot of, misconceptions because they're being sold things from the front of the room that aren't necessarily accurate or true. So what I want to do is just bring you up to speed with some actual facts and numbers of what's going on inside of the world of direct sales. And I am going to dial pad. I'm going to mute out the... I don't know if you guys can hear those, but I can hear them every time somebody chimes in or chimes out, which is fine. So this is being recorded for those of you who would like to watch this again. I've been told I sometimes talk too fast, which is probably true. Actually, it is true. So I will kind of hold that back to slight gust instead of full storm. So that way we can get through the information in time, but then you can go back and look at it again. And obviously I put together the PowerPoint, so that way if you do miss anything, I will be able to, this is now in the form of a PDF, I will be able to actually get this to you so you can actually have it with you, because it does have some of the wording on it. There will also be several PDFs that go along with this that I'm going to send out, and I believe I can send out through Eventbrite itself, and you guys can open those. Or what I would suggest everybody to do is go on Facebook, if you can. You don't have to do this right now, but go on Facebook, and there is a Facebook group that I've created, and I'm going to put all the PDFs in the Facebook group as well. Right on. So somebody just connected me on Facebook and said, hey, I want to know about this My Leadership Network stuff. What are you doing? So obviously some of you try to connect to me live on the art and science of leads. So the art and science of leads, it's got a picture of me with very short hair pointing at everybody on the front page. So if you're wondering if it's the right one, that's the right one. If you join that, I'm going to put the PDFs in there. It has a chat. I'm also going to continue teaching and training. So if you have continuous questions, which you're going to, I can keep up with the questions, and everybody can learn together rather than me having the same conversation 19 times, which is usually what happens. But I'm open as well if you guys have questions. Understand that. So the next part is, believe you can succeed. I'm just going to go over, basically my story and kind of show you, and that's more in depth than probably you heard before. I just want to give you guys absolute, truth conviction that anybody here can do this. Even if you're, you think you can't and you're in a bad situation, you've been through some rough stuff. When I open the door to basically where I came from and figured this out, you will have hope. You may never jump on my training again, but you will have hope. Then we're going to go into the mindset to use leads, what it's going to take, the 4 reasons why to use leads, and it's a 6-step, and I said 5 because there were 5 steps to the recruiting, but I wanted you to have the 6th step, because the 6th step is basically plugging people into what? Plugging people into what we're doing, because I'm going to find if you're not plugging people into what we're doing, you'll probably have a harder time pulling this off unless you have a system already built. So with that, we'll go ahead and get rolling. Let me see, how is this going to work? How do I advance? There we go, and it's advancing. Okay, so did everybody see that the page turned? Bess, did you see that the page turned? Where did it originate? Is that, we're on track? Okay, cool. So we'll get right into the training. It says, understanding direct sales. Where did this whole thing originate? And if you do the study and the research, this goes all the way back to, villages, town markets, door-to-door, church organizations, yearly fairs, shipping. There's a really cool picture in the history of direct sales and network marketing of an Avon cart from over 100 years ago. So Avon was actually sold on a cart, basically street to street. So for those of you who don't know, Avon, the company, is the oldest direct sales company that we know of, traditional direct sales. It's over 125 years old. mail catalog. I don't know if you guys remember the old Sears catalog. I freaking love those. You know, as a kid, we'd look through those and you'd, you know, pick out everything you want and circle everything you want. And my parents, I don't know what your parents were like, but my parents were like, oh, so you want half the catalog? Yeah, that's pretty realistic. Person to person, then you also have technology that we're going to go over. So here's some numbers about direct sales. There's over 100 million people worldwide in it. There's over 18.5 million distributors or agents, or, you know, that has a lot of different words, reps inside the United States. Over 200 billion in gross sales, over 34 billion in the United States alone. So those statistics directly are from 2000. They're either 16 or 17. So all of this information, if you want to write down where this is coming from, and you're a numbers person, you're like, did Jeff make this up? Where did he get it? It's actually coming from the DSA.org, DirectSalesAssociation.org. So if you put in DSA.org, factual sheets, this information comes from 2013 to 2018. There's several different sheets they have, and I've just compiled kind of the important information. There's a lot more to it, but I've compiled the important information, and I put it in order so that way you guys can understand who you're looking for. Because if you kind of know who's getting in, then you kind of have an avatar of who you're looking for. A lot of us have an idea of who we're looking for, but we don't have the right idea. So distributorships, these are the different kinds, and the DSA calls it by distributorships. So what that means is when somebody goes and signs on an application, 84.4% of all the distributorships or all the agents out there are single-person distributorships, meaning is a single individual on the application, even if they're married. You and I probably both know, and I say you and I, everybody here probably knows, that there are people who sign up inside of direct sales that do not allow their spouse to know, or do not include their spouse because their spouse doesn't want to be included. So that's kind of what we're talking about. 14% are two-people distributorships, meaning husband, wife, and or partnership, and or two friends. I mean, there's a lot of different people joining. 14% of those are two-person distributorships, and then 1.5 are multi-person distributorships. So when you have a bunch of people like, oh, well, I'm just going to join as a club or as a group, that's the highest rate of failure for those of you who don't know. The highest rate of failure is when a bunch of people join one application and say we're going to do this as a club or a group. Now, there are families who have pulled it off because they have faceted businesses. They have a bunch of different businesses, and they do everything as a group or a club. I know real estate people who have done that. I know some insurance families who have done that. And I say insurance family because it's like the mom, the dad, the son, and like the uncle and the cousin all went on one application, and it comes into their corporation, and everything's split, and they have an LLC that divides all that out. That's not normal, and that's not what you're going after. You know, obviously by the numbers, 84% are one-person distributorships. We're looking for individual people, is my point to that. Now, this is understanding direct sales by region. So this is just the United States, but it does give you a good breakdown of, you know, where do you look for people? You know, and it shows, you know, some states, this is actually done in a chart by states, which is really cool. So you can figure out, you know, what your state looks like if you're in a state. Because a lot of people say, well, I'm just going to build locally. Is that really the smartest thing to do? I talked with Dave Peters yesterday. We had a great conversation. We were talking about why people join direct sales or network marketing. And I said, you know, the Midwest is kind of tough. And he's like, yeah, I kind of agree. I said, well, the reason the Midwest is a little bit tough is two reasons. First of all, in the Midwest, you don't see a lot of success. And what I mean by that is when I went out to L.A., and I was in L.A., within a 2-day period of time, I want to say I saw 3 Rolls-Royce or Bentley. I saw half a dozen Ferraris. I saw a Lamborghini. Like, success was evident there. Now, it's not that there aren't nice cars here in Indiana, but you don't see them driving 7 to 9 months a year. You don't see them driving at all right now because the potholes are so big. There's actually a funny meme going around in Indiana, and I'm sure the rest of the Midwest. They said, I just saw a 3-bedroom, 2-bath pothole in the street, and it's really true. You know, people are starting to market the potholes. They're so big that, you know, people want to buy them as real estate investments. And that's not a joke. Dave Peters probably laughing because he's on the south side, and it's bad down there too. But I've driven throughout the Midwest, and, you know, the first issue is you just don't see a ton of success, and we're taught in the Midwest and I don't know if you've heard this. I mean, this is kind of all over. Just be happy with what you have. You just have to be happy with what you have. You know, if you have food and you have shelter, then you just need to be happy with what you have. And I agree. You do need to be happy, but you don't have to be satisfied. And I think a lot of people struggle with that sort of mentality. That's really a block for a lot of people. Bess is going to talk a lot about blocks, I know, actually this evening. A lot of blocks for people to get started in the business or kind of keep going because they're like, I'm okay. I'm doing, you know, what's worse is I'm doing average. I'm doing better than a lot of people. But you have to kind of be dissatisfied with average to be able to move on. The second biggest reason that I see why people have a hard time succeeding inside of network marketing and direct sales, especially in the Midwest. Now, I've traveled all over the place, but especially in the Midwest is you're too nice. You're too nice. You don't want to offend anybody. You just want everybody to get along and share and care and believe. And the reality is life is not really like that. You know, life is kind of mean. And not that you have to be mean by any chance, but you know, you do have to be a little bit more aggressive. There's a funny comedian by the name of Stephen Wright, and he says all kinds of funny things. But you know, he said something once. He's like, you know, the second mouse gets the cheese, and you know, he's referring to the first mouse obviously gets caught in the trap, but the second mouse gets the cheese. So it's really about being persistent and consistent and really working towards what you want. So if you want to build direct sales inside the United States, now I know we have people on here from Canada, and Shamala said she was going to join us from South Africa, so obviously this is specific to the United States, at least this part of the training is. But there's actually statistics for the W. It's worldwide, the WDSA, I think it's DF, direct, is it DF, WF? WF something, direct sales, DSA, WFDSA, World Federation Direct Sales Association. I'll find that link and I'll put it up here. But that gives you the statistics worldwide, and I have those statistics as well. But in the United States, did you know that in almost every single network marketing company, these 4 states are the largest producers regardless of the company? California, Texas, Florida, New York. Now, I'm going to take a minute, and I don't necessarily have this in the PowerPoint, so you're going to have to, you know, grab a pen and a piece of paper, that's why we said that, to write this down. But why do you think that is? And I've flown around the country, and I've spoken all these states. So I've been in front of audiences in multiple companies in these states. And it seemed every time there were certain things about these 4 states that were significantly different than the rest of the country. So I'm going to give you a list of what I see. The number one is the competition is significantly greater. Because the population's greater, the competition's significantly greater. So it is actually physically harder to build. When I say harder, it's not harder. What is that? It's more difficult to compete, or there's more activity going on. I can't talk. There's more activity going on in these states. So the competition is greater. The competition's greater. Therefore, if the competition's greater, people have to make decisions faster in places where the population's bigger. Now, Bess lived in San Diego, so I know she can, you know, vouch for this. I've got friends that lived in San Diego, and just to kind of give you a scenario, one of my friends had to hire an attorney. And the reason he had to hire an attorney is because he went to a dealership, and he was looking at a Mercedes-Benz. It was like a 400 something, an S400, which is a nice car. And he was going to put money down. It was an E400, and it had like the round headlights. Beautiful car, black. Took a picture, put money down, and said he was going back to the bank. He gave him some money, put money down, left the dealership to go get the financing. Like, this is the middle of the day. Comes back towards the end of the day. So, you know, he basically came in there to like 11, dropped off the money, liked the car, put the deposit down, left, went to get the financing. 3 guesses what happened in California. They sold the car out from underneath him. Somebody else came in and had the money right there. They sold the car right there. Why? Because in California, you can't wait. You have to make a decision now. Why? Because it's so evident that other people are going to get in front of you. Try that in real estate in New York. Try to say, oh, okay, well, let me go home and think about it for a day or a week. They're going to look at you like, you have green frogs crawling out your eyes. New Jersey, parts of New Jersey, same way. There's just the time frame. It's like you got to make a move now. Florida, same thing. But in Indiana, if you look at the state, of course, I'm in the very middle. There's a funny joke, that talks about the Midwest specifically, about how slow things happen. There was a famous person that said, if it's the end of the world, I'm moving to Indiana. And the reason being is they're not going to find out for another 2 years. We'll still be alive when everybody else is going. So, there's some benefits to being here. People are nice, but it's a slower pace. And you might feel that where you're at. But I'm telling you, if you're in one of these states and you're closest to the fire, you're moving faster than everybody else. And the population's greater. You have to make more money inside of those states just for basic living. Most people know this, especially if you live in California or, southern Florida, parts of Texas. It's more expensive. New York, outrageous. It's more expensive to live there. So not only do you have to make decisions faster, there is a drive to make more money for basic survival. It was funny. I remember a friend of ours had moved from New York to California, and he was talking about working at Applebee's. And he's like, blah, 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 blah. I was working at Applebee's, and I was only taking home between $2,700 and $3,500 a month. And then I had to get another job and blah, 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 blah. And a friend of mine who was sitting beside me, who was also from the Midwest, is like, did he just say he was working as a waiter at Applebee's making $2,700 to $3,500 a month? I'm like, yeah, that's what he said. He's like, dude, that's like a good job in the Midwest. He's like, he was just doing that part-time while he was acting, while he was doing these other things, and he still couldn't survive in Southern California. He was in San Diego, in between San Diego and L.A. I think he was in Anaheim at that time. So what I'm trying to say is, imagine building a business in a place like that where the people are more hungry, especially if you're coming from the Midwest. Now, if you're already there, you want both. You want to build inside where it's hot, but also some of the longest term teams come from the Midwest. And you can probably guess why. Even if you tried to stop them, they're not going to hear about it for 2 years. So they're going to keep going. So the Direct Sales Association shows that 1 in 7 households are involved in direct sales in the United States. 1 in 7. Now that's buying a product and working the business. If you broke it down by numbers, 18 million divided by the 350 million people, there's not 350 million active households. So that's where they're getting the numbers 1 through 7. I had to do the math, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And then I did the math, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. So it's 1 in 16 people are involved in direct sales in the United States if you broke it down by numbers. And we're talking about over the age of 18 that are involved. Because, we can't chart the ones that aren't allowed to get in. So the breakdown of the industry, understanding inside the industry. So these are the breakdown of the categories inside the industry. And these have changed a little bit. Services have been up, but 33% are in wellness, vitamins, juices, shakes, weight loss. The category really was weight loss around this, but it's also health and wellness. Services are up. Quite a bit. They used to be like 10% over 10 years ago, and now they're up to 22% of the whole industry. 60% home and family care. What are we talking about? Cleaning products and anything that would be used inside the house. 16.5 beauty, personal care, skin care, makeup, etc. You guys get it. 8.2 clothing and accessories. We're talking about bags, and I've got all kinds of cool companies in my head, and then 2.6 leisure, education, videos, books, and everything else. But that's the breakdown of the industry. Now, why do you want to know that? Where are you at on this chart? What percentage are you in? Is it absolutely necessary to know this information right here? Not totally, but you want to know how big of a portion do you guys have of the industry that you're working in, and where are people moving to? You know, because and just to say this, we have certain people who are in our school who are looking for what company to go into. So, you know, Bess has actually been on calls with me and actually brought me on to help people make decisions about where to go. Now, we're not advocating changing anything you're doing, but these are people who came to us, who asked us, hey, I want to get in this industry. I've gotten burnt, or I've gotten pushed around, or I've gotten to the point where I don't like what I'm doing, and I want your help, and I want direction. So this is some of how I break this down. This is what I look at. Now, if you're happy with where you're at, perfect. Don't call us and say, hey, should I change? No, you should stay where you're at if you like where you're at. This was for people who are kind of coming to us that weren't in something when they came to us. Breakdown. Ethnic breakdown. Understanding the direct sales industry. This is, you know, breakdown by ethnic, and I also have it by age group, and I also have it by a bunch of different things. Caucasian. The fastest growing group, inside, this is the United States, is Hispanic. See, Hispanic is the fastest growing group. So obviously, if that's the fastest growing group, that would be a good one to have. But here's what I've always tried to do. I've always tried to have a blended group. Now, obviously, you're going to contact and talk to who? You're going to talk to the people you know. You know, so as my friend, who's African American, who grew up in Maryland, he's like, some people will come to me and be like, hey, why did you sponsor all African Americans? He's like, well, I looked at my friends list, and it just so happened that I grew up in a predominantly African American household. So I predominantly recruited African American people. And I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. He's like, and you're probably going to do the same based on who you know. But I've always worked to build a multicultural, multi-ethnic group. I get along with a lot of people, and you're going to hear this in my story of why, because I'm pretty messed up. I get along with everybody. And I've always been able to attract a lot of different people because of probably my upbringing and who I am. But it's good to know this information. Why? Because it's like you want to have that group of everybody. You know, I also say, look at what they're doing. Are they targeting certain people? Because I have this conversation with friends of mine a lot. I said, he's like, you know, if you look at their advertising, they're just targeting one kind of, you know, one type of person. And I was like, ooh, you're right. And that's something that I wouldn't see. My friend can bring that to me. My best friend actually is from Tanzania, Africa. So he has that marketing point of view. He's like, hey, I don't see this kind of person, or I don't see that kind of person in the marketing, so they're going after. I was like, man, you're right. I was like, you know, that's a good observation that I would miss growing up in the Midwest in the school that I did. And I grew up in a predominantly white household, Caucasian household. That's just where I grew up. You know, my school was basically like that growing up because that was the area. Now it's totally different, which is good. So, breakdown by gender. 73.5% female. 26% male. Here's one key thing. Recruit more females. Recruit more females. They're more social, and they're better at multitasking. Those are two things that I didn't say that. That actually came from a strong female coach in the industry. Not that males can't multitask. Females are just better at it. This one's cool. Why people join direct sales. And I put 33 because it was so slight. It's basically a perfect blend of this. Long-term supplemental income. Those people want to make money. 33% is options. Options. They wanted flexibility. They want, I like to say it like this. They want a backup plan. Just in case something happens, I want a backup plan. And I want the flexibility to do it when I want to do it. By the way, if anything's spelled wrong on this PowerPoint, Forgive me, because when you capitalize everything, you don't get, spell check obviously doesn't catch everything, and my spelling is usually horrible. So if you see something along the way, please let me know. I will change it and edit it before I send it out to the world. And what I mean by the world is you guys who came into this class. 33% products at a discount. So 33% of people join. These are people who sign up in the company. Join for a discount. What does this mean? It means out of the 200 million people, or out of the 100 million people who join, 33 million basically join to make money. They want long-term supplemental income. 33% join just for the option to do something. It doesn't mean they're going to do anything right now. And 33% join just to get the discount on the product. Now, your company might not have a discount, which is okay. I've been involved in companies who do not have a discount for the people inside. They sell, it's the same price to the agent as it's the same price to the customer. The only difference is the agent or rep or, you know, distributor has the ability to make money with it. This was cool. Direct sales was actually ranked as the easiest, and easiest is, I believe, spelled wrong, path to business ownership. And entrepreneurship. And what it shows is the average direct sales company cost $106.40 to get into. These statistics, again, are from 2013 to 2018 numbers. And this was cool, too. 90% ROI. So basically what it means is 90% of the people who joined direct sales were able to at least get their money back and break even if they stopped working. Average $3,000 to become a realtor. They got zero back. That was their ROI if they stopped doing it. Franchise, obviously, realtors lost money, franchises lost money is what we're trying to say. So direct sales is the easiest path to entrepreneurship. So when somebody's like, man, I really want to build a business. Well, direct sales, by statistics, is not only the easiest to get into, but it's the most likely you'll make money. The most likely. So when people are like, oh, nobody makes money in those. Now, this one's really cool, too. Percentage of sales by method. 81% face-to-face selling. In-home, temporary locations, fair expedition work. People are signing up by face-to-face. 12% remote selling, internet, offers, voicemail, fax. 6% remote selling. 3% are just auto shipments like an eBay method. But think about that. Almost 80% of people are joining and buying face-to-face. I have to see somebody. This was kind of cool. Shopping parties are the most widely recognized methods where friends, family, acquaintances get together for a few hours to learn about a range of products. However, the majority, 70% of direct selling industry, actually occurs on a one-on-one basis. I argue this all the time with people. People are like, if you don't start with a group of people, I'm like, statistically, that's wrong. So here it is, by sales strategy. This is people signing up in the industry. 64.3% sign up as an individual or like person to person. 25.4% by a party. 9% by firms. Now here's what's happened. 25 and 64 in the last few years have actually changed to 72%, and I think the party plan has dropped to 18. Everything else pretty much stayed the same. Direct sales orders is always about 10%, and a fifth of people have no idea how they get in. But 72%, it moved to one-on-one. So out of 10 people who joined, 7 of them joined because, why? Because they were face-to-face with somebody. 2 people joined because of a party, and everybody else has no idea how they got in. You know, they saw a video or bought something that they didn't even know the person. And then this just shows types of compensation plans. That's really for the person who's looking. Most of them are multi-level. Some of them are just one-level plans. You just get paid if you do something, not if your team does something, which isn't really network marketing, so I don't even know why that's listed. So the cool thing is you guys getting something out of this. Because when I learned these numbers, this gave me a whole new perspective on the industry, of what I was looking for and who the people in it are, so I knew how to find more of them. Percentage of direct sailors. This is by hours worked. 7.5 are full-time or 30 hours or more. 7.5, less than 10% work more than 30 hours, 92% part-time. So who are we looking for? We're looking for part-time people. We're looking for part-time people. This just shows percentage by age. This was kind of cool. The fastest growing segment of this is, guess which? 65 plus. That's in the United States. I believe it's also worldwide, but I know inside the United States the fastest growing area is 65 plus. The second fastest growing areas was the millennial, the 18 to 29, and then the bulk of people are 30 to 64. So if you want to know why, I've always taught 25 to 55, there's the numbers right there. That's the niche where the bell curve is the highest. That's where the majority is. But look at how people join. I mean, it's up to them. What do? You show it to everybody? That's the goal. So, understanding the direct sales industry, the reason so many people fail in network marketing is they fail to recruit what? They just fail to recruit people into their business. That comes from Mark Yarnell. Great book, The First Year in Network Marketing. Awesome book, by the way. If you haven't read it, go on Amazon and buy that book. Or your local bookstore or wherever. If you're against Amazon, I totally understand. They're taking over the world, literally. So, up until this point, just to get kind of a thumbs up, are you guys getting something out of this? I'm going to actually unmute everybody for a second, if I can find it. So is this good so far, guys? I mean, my goal is to provide enough value where in the first, hour, you guys are like, yeah, I definitely, this is helping. So, here, is this helping?
Yes.
Yes. What's Mark Yarnell's book they're supposed to get?
It's called Your First Year in Network Marketing.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Yep. It's a great, great read. Anybody who's read it knows, I'm sure. If Bess hasn't read it, I'm sure she owns it because it's one of those good ones. All right, so.
Jeff?
Yes?
What's Donna's last name? She's the only one I couldn't find.
Hold on.
Thank you.
Hey, the problem is they can't recruit people into their business. They try to.
Well, we're going to show you how to do it. Even if it takes a fishing pole. People are like, I love fishing. Eventbrite. Okay, here we go. I got to look for it one at a time here. What in the world?
Thank you for looking. I don't know her.
Doris, David, Denise. A lot of D's.
I'm more into catching than fishing.
Okay, Donna, it's P-O-P-O-W.
Thank you.
And she actually has 3 names, and I don't know what the third name is. Probably her main name is on Facebook. So, okay, guys, we're going to move into the next section and go for a few more minutes, and then we'll take a quick break. Okay, that was like a 10-second intermission, but first year network marketing, perfect. So the next part, we're going to get into a little bit of my story. Great video and overview. So here's kind of what happened to me. I grew up actually in Brownsburg, Indiana. That's a suburb of Indianapolis, a little town. My parents basically moved there and got divorced shortly after. I lived with my mom. I went to my dad's on the weekends. So just to kind of give you like where I came from, my mom was kind of doing her thing. She was a school teacher, and at her house it was do whatever you want to do. You basically, if you were hungry, you went and got something. If you were thirsty, you went and got something. But she was completely not strict on those things. But then we had to be in bed at a certain time every day because she ran on this school system like lifestyle or life. So everything revolved around the school, and obviously as a teacher you have to be there before everybody else. So it was a 5 a.m. wake up call, military style, Monday through Friday. On the weekends you could sleep in 15 minutes or whatever, because I mean once you're on a schedule like that for 30 years, you're just on that schedule. My dad's house was basically the exact opposite. My dad's house was sort of don't do anything without written permission. I mean, my dad is actually an artist, and it says here, and it really was like this. He bought a very old antique house, and it was very dark, it was very cold, and we weren't allowed to touch anything because he had artwork on the wall that was worth what the house was worth, if that makes sense, because he knew a lot of famous artists because he was an artist. So I went over there. It was do not do anything you're not supposed to do. So pretty strict. When I say pretty strict, it was like military strict. So my mom was the elementary teacher. My dad was a marketing director for his company, and then he went on to get his MFA, Master's in Fine Arts, and became a college professor as well. So he did that kind of just as I was graduating. And I only tell you guys this so you can kind of understand my perspective. My mom's family was 100% right-wing, and I mean politically. So you guys just understand where I'm coming from. So I grew up, my grandparents on that side, my grandfather worked for the party, my grandmother worked for the party. Their mentality was it's right or nothing. And my dad's family was the exact opposite, was completely left-wing. And it says here, my stepmom worked for the Democratic Party. Like, I remember having people over at the house, and I was being introduced to these people, and I understand. I was so dense, I didn't even understand that there were two parties. I just realized that everybody was talking about issues, and I never picked up the whole division thing growing up, even though I saw that there were differences in how they viewed everything. I was just like, oh, that's family, because everybody's family I didn't love one side more than the other. I just kind of loved everybody. So my stepmom was upstate, Jewish New York. So when her parents came to visit us, it was the accent and everything. And the little old Jewish lady showed up and, hey, how are you? And had the real raspy. She'd smoked cigarettes her whole life. And, she always had a vodka tonic with her. Go get me a drink. And, and we would sit there and and she would, I don't know, it was very Jewish and stereotypical, and just awesome, awesome people. So I celebrated not only all the Christian holidays, I celebrated all the Jewish holidays too. So and I mean, to the point where, it was, like, I know some of the, I could speak Hebrew. That's kind of how involved they were in, and I can't speak it like fluently. I know some of the prayers. But that's just how I kind of grew up. And I was really messed up because of all this, because I would get along with people and I would have my own ideas, and this was like constantly a battle argument. So my mom not only was to teach, but was a teacher. She taught at the school where I went to school at. So you talk about making things more difficult as a kid. I mean, imagine trying to get away with stuff and you're trying to be a kid, and your mom actually teaches at the school that you're going to. So that was grade school. I basically went to my dad's house on the weekend, and I put this in here. I have like horrible seasonal allergies. So what would happen is I would start every year with this like, yes, I'm going to go do it. I'm going to go get it. And I'm going to do well this year. And about 6 weeks in, my allergies would hit, and I had allergies to the point where I was hospitalized just about every year. They had to give me shots. They had to pin me down and literally open my eyes and put drops in, and it was bad for a long time. Most of it was because I was eating crap. I'll just say that. I still have a little bit, but through diet, I've basically been able to kill all of that. So I started school with an idea that I was going to do well, and I never did well. I end up, because of my choices and because of my decisions and because of my thought processes, I came to my mom. I can't remember if I was 13 or 14. It was like my sophomore year of school, and I kind of start describing where I'm at. I'm like, I know I'm not okay. Like, I'm so angry and so upset at life and people. Like, just the conversation scared her enough to call somebody. And they're like, yeah, he needs a professional. The professionals did an evaluation, and I basically got locked up inside of a treatment center, lockdown. Now, I wasn't using any substances at all. This wasn't drug related. This was just how messed up my thinking was. And I was such a danger to myself and others. I won't go into all of it, but I was a danger to myself, let's put it that way, that they didn't let me sleep inside a room. I had to sleep in the hallway with video cameras and a physical person there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I want to say for almost the first 3 weeks I was in that center. So I failed a couple classes my freshman year and barely got through. I ended up taking the classes that I missed my freshman year in my junior year, which was interesting. I loved martial arts. I loved music. I loved muscle and fitness. The only thing that I think I did well between the ages of like 13 and 16 is I grew my hair out long. You know, I wore this leather jacket, you know, a t-shirt, jeans, and shoes every day. I was basically the kid that people pointed out that said was not going to, I was most likely to end up in jail, like as a group, because I was confrontational. I didn't do work. I didn't like authority. This was actually true. I was arrested in front of my own house. And I think I told that story on the free call, but for those of you who didn't hear it, during the holidays, I went over to my dad's house, same outfit, same hair, had some kind of, you know, rock and roll t-shirt on that basically had some, you know, I had to really tailor it when I went to my dad's house because they wouldn't let me, let's put it this way, 70, maybe 80% of the stuff that I owned, I was not allowed to even wear at my dad's house because it was offensive to them and basically anybody walking by. So my mom was like, you know, you're a kid, I don't care. I mean, she didn't like it, don't get me wrong. She would argue with me, but by 13, 14, I was so hard to deal with, it was just easier not to deal with me. So the police pulled up because they got phone calls. I was outside walking around my dad's house, and somebody thought I was casing the house to actually break in. So the police showed up. Hey, come over here to the car. What are you doing here? I live here. Well, how do you, you know, I looked a little bit older because of my look. So they're like, well, do you have any ID on you? No. I was like, well, there's pictures on the wall inside the house of me. Do you want to go in and see them? And the police officer basically got out and walked me up to the door. So my dad had to prove that, yes, you know, he's like, this idiot is, you know, mine, and come inside. And then I got the lecture, you know, how you look is basically, you know, it was a good lecture. How you look basically on the outside represents, you know, who you are to some people. That's what they believe you are. So you need to take that into account when you're out and about. And I remember that conversation then applying in business when some guys asked me, they're like, do you think you look like a business person? Like, I remember that when I got involved in network marketing. But started dating this girl in high school after I got out of the stress center. And this was a changing point. So if everybody wants to know how do you change somebody completely, what was it? My grandmother sent me Tony Robbins' Unlimited Power tapes as soon as I got out of that stress center. And my great-grandmother, who's Catholic, basically almost burnt down the house from what my grandmother tells me because they lived in like a two-story double. Almost burned down the house because of Catholic. They light candles like and do prayers. And I guess my grandma was on this like huge prayer thing that I would see the light literally and, you know, come around. So she was lighting candles like every hour on the hour. And this was my great-grandmother was doing that. And my grandma was putting them all out, making sure that the house didn't burn down. But the candles worked. And my grandmother found Tony Robbins, sent me that cassette tape. And that's where I heard the message that you could improve yourself. I had never heard that from anybody up until that point, that if you absolutely positively dislike and hate who you are and where you're at, and I did. I mean, the reason I was locked up is I was like, I don't like myself to the point where I'm questioning why I'm here. I don't want to be around. And what was worse is not only did I not want to be around, certain people had bullied me. And in my mind, I was like, well, if I'm going to go, I'm taking everybody with me. Like that's where I was at. I mean, it was a mess. And this, you know, it was amazing because they just kept checking me. They're like, are you sure you're not on drugs or doing anything? I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm regularly this messed up. I'm not even substance abuse. And I only jokingly say that because I know sometimes it is the drug interaction that will make you feel that way. I didn't have that. I pray that people who are going through that, if it is substance, thank goodness you can just take the substance away. But the mentality is still there that needs to be fixed. So I have very good friends that I say it's jokingly. I have very good friends that have been addicted, that we have this conversation and we can have these conversations. And when they tell me where they were at, I was like, man, I was there too, but I wasn't even using anything. That's how messed up. And he's like, yeah, I totally get it. So I specifically knew I had an addictive personality, and I stayed away from stuff knowing that if I touched any of it, that would be the end, like very quickly. So if, you know, the one good thing is I was smart enough to recognize that early on. So at 17, I started dating this girl. I go over to her house, and her parents are involved in direct sales and network marketing. I didn't know for probably the first 6 months, but eventually I see her dad. Her mom came home first and basically went in the garage. We were on the couch watching TV, and her mom brings out 30 brown bags that all are numbered 1 through 30 or 1 through 33. I think there were like 33. And about 4 o'clock, 4:15, the doorbell rings, and she goes to the door, talks to somebody, hands them a bag, and they leave, and she comes back. And this, 4:15, 4:30, 4:45, 5. Her dad gets home about 5:30. It keeps going on and on and on, and probably around 7:45, 8 o'clock, I remember looking over at my girlfriend. I was like, what are your parents doing? And she's like, oh, they own a business, but they don't want me to tell you about it. Now, I don't know what neighborhood you guys grew up in, but being that my mom was a teacher, and I knew her mom was a teacher, the 33 bags, I'm thinking she's getting something ready for school. But there are random people showing up at this person's house. And then I went up to go to the restroom, and I remember looking to the left at the kitchen table, and her dad is sitting in front of this mound of cash and checks and, like, doing accounting on this yellow notebook. And I'm like, okay. Go to the restroom, come back by. I look, most of the bags are gone. There's money. I'm like, this is weird. I kind of sit back down, and I was like, why don't your parents want me to know what they do? Well, they just don't want you to know. So I'm inquisitive. I got up, and just before they said, okay, we're basically wrapping things up. There's a couple people. They're not coming today. They're coming tomorrow. And I kind of walk over, and her dad's just finishing stuff up and kind of collecting the money and putting it in this box. And I'm like, what is this? What do you guys do? Kendra says that, you guys are involved in some business. Well, what is this? Because I don't know what neighborhood you grew up in, but it did not look good to me. I was like, am I going to end up on an episode of Cops here? And he's like, oh, well, let me show you. And he gets up, and he starts walking towards the garage. So he gets to the garage door, and he opens the door, and I'm thinking, I've been in the garage, but I haven't seen anything. Maybe I'm missing the plants and the chemistry set. I don't know. And he opens the door, and he points over the shelf. He goes, do you see those shelves over there? I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, we represent a company that represents those products. So we're distributors for this company. And I was like, oh, okay. That, I guess that makes sense. And I asked him how that worked. Now, I didn't ask, hey, I want to learn network marketing. I want to know what network marketing is. I just kind of asked inquisitively, like, well, what is that? Like, I've never heard of direct sales. I've never heard of network marketing. What is that? And he's like, well, let me show you. And he goes back over to the table, and he gets out a piece of paper, and he draws out the plan. He's like, look, there's a corporation, and there's a system, and those two things come together through a special person called a sponsor. And your sponsor is the one who introduced you to the business, and all the volume that you create is tied through them. And then he drew out how to work, and he's like, and you're this level, this level, this level, this level. And he goes all the way down. He gets to $100,000 a year. I don't know why. I was ready. I got it. I was like, wait a minute. You can make $100,000 doing this? I was like, so based on your model, you can build this as big as you want? He's like, yeah. I said, so you could build this to $1 million a year? He's like, oh, yeah. I said, are there people who've done that? He's like, yeah. I said, are there people who've done that in Indiana? He's like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, basically what I was saying is I'm done talking to you. I want to talk to them. But I was like, so how do you learn more about this? And they ended up giving me 6 audios. Now, I'm going to date myself here, but they were cassette tapes because that was the new thing back then. They gave me cassette tapes, and I took the cassette tapes home. And, and for those of you in network marketing, if you've ever handed somebody information and you're like, go take a look at this, you basically, your odds are 50% of the time you're never getting it back from them or never hearing from them again, right? I mean, that's just reality. About 90% of the time they will take it and never listen to it. Am I right? I mean, they just never listen to it, or they're like, oh, I'm going to get to it, and I don't get to it. I end up taking 6 audio home. Each audio was about an hour, and I come back the next day, and I kind of had this weird look in my eye like I was going to accomplish something, like aggressively accomplish something. And I was like, hey, do you have any more of those audios? And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, the audios you gave me. I was like, do you have any more of them? Are there more of them, more people? And he's like, yeah, but you listened to all of them? I'm like, yeah, I listened to all of them. And here's what I did. I actually took out blank tapes because I was really big into music, and I always tried to, like, sample music and stuff and put together stuff. I actually recorded them. Now, you know, forgive me, whatever legal department is out there, forgive me, I taped them. Well, I didn't think I'd be able to get these again. I didn't know if you had to buy them, you had to steal them. I didn't know, but I was like, I'm taking this information. It was like, it was the first thing that reminded me of what Tony Robbins was talking about. I was like, this is this personal development stuff that I was just absolutely hooked on. I had been listening to Tony, but the problem with listening to Tony is I was like, this is great stuff, but where the hell do I apply it to? There was no business at school. There was no opportunity at school. So I start listening to these guys. About 3 weeks later, I attended my first open house. I sat in the very back of the room. I was the youngest guy in the room by 15 years minimum. You know, so when you enter a room at 17 and almost everybody in the room is 50 plus, and there was about 300 people, and at the very end, everybody stands up, and it was a plethora. It was about 30 people up front, and they're like, I'm a teacher, I'm a construction worker, I'm a dentist, I'm a doctor. I mean, they had a really diverse group, super professionals. One guy was in international freight shipping. One guy was in worked for Xerox. I mean, these are high-end jobs. They had the jobs that I was told I was supposed to go get, and they're like, hey, we're getting out. We're leaving these industries. And out of the 30, 10 of them were full-time and retired. And I was like, I mean, I'm done. I wanted to punch my counselor, my guidance counselor in the face for even mentioning spending 4 to 5 years at college instead of doing this. Like, you talk about getting sold out. Like, that meeting, I was done. Like, forever. There's no job out there that could ever compete. I don't care what amount of money. I'm never buying in. I already knew, like at 13, I knew there was something wrong with the system. And what I mean by the system that actually says go get a job. And like, I knew we were being used. I knew that we were kind of being operated at a different level and kind of controlled and sold. But they spelled it out in that hour-and-a-half long meeting, and I was done. I attended my first convention that summer, and that pretty much, you know, I watched people walk on stage and tell their story, and I was like, that pretty much gave me the dream of what I was looking for. In between the time they showed it to me and the end of the year, it says about 4 months, but it was really probably 5 months, you know, January, February, March, April, May. By the time I graduated, I had listened to in excess of 100 of those audios, and some of them multiple times. So what I did is I started basically flushing out all the garbage that I had, and there was a lot of it. It took me years of flushing that stuff out before, and what I mean by flushing it out is being able to have a clear thought without that voice in the back of your head saying, no, you can't do it. No, you grew up here. No, you've been arrested before. No, you've gotten people in trouble. No, you've done that. Like, you know, that voice, I mean, my voice was very loud in the back of my head and had a bunch of stuff to tell me. You know, grades, you know, you're not that kind of a person. You don't look right. You don't relate to these people. You don't understand. You have no business experience. It was a long list, right? The story I told myself was in volumes of why I couldn't do things. So, you know, my journey basically is that. And here's what happened. I became 100% sold out on the dream of creating a business where I could own my life. Build your own business to be able to own it, to be able to, you know, do what you want to do. And really to be able to buy back your time and be able to do what you wanted to do when you wanted to do it. Because that was the one thing I hated about life so far, is I was like, okay, I'm spending 8.5 hours in school. I could be doing something productive else. I would get home and I was bored to death because I didn't have any direction or focus. So people who have a lot of energy, who are bored to death, get into trouble. Grant Cardone talks about that. He's like, there's just too many people bored out there. He's like, and when you're bored, you get into trouble. When you have a dream and you're working on something, he's like, typically you stay out of trouble. So that was part of my problem. Having a family that was connected, because my family was really disconnected, if that makes sense. It was, you know, everybody's family is dysfunctional in their own way, but my family was just very distant. There weren't a lot of conversations. It was, hey, here's dinner, go watch TV. Do you have homework? There was no conversation about who you are as a person or what we're trying to accomplish, or do you see the future, or talking about goals or dreams or anything of substance on my mom's side. My dad's side was more talking about how he had screwed up, and who we, you know, a lot of times it was the people who they disliked and why they disliked them. That was 80% of the conversation at the table. Well, there's these people, and here's why we don't like them. And here's why, you know, they need to go away or whatever. So, like, I just didn't have those conversations. And I saw these people. I was like, these people are having these conversations about dreams and trips and travel, and, you know, they're focused on building something. And that was, of course, to my personality that's about control and running and building something. You know, I wanted to build the worldwide empire of, you know, a company. And it wasn't just because of the money. It was basically because of the friendships and being able to go see people and be able to go do things. Because, I mean, I spent the majority of my life, when I say locked up, I mean locked up because I was either grounded or kind of in trouble or arrested or in the principal's office or in detention. Like, that's how I spent 13 to 18. So when somebody shows me, hey, you can get out and you can buy an airline ticket to anywhere, I was like, I wasn't even concerned about coming back. You know, it wasn't a two-way trip to me. It was a one-way trip. I was like, man, once I'm gone, I don't need the way back. Like, I'm going to save a lot of money on this. And then being liked and admired was something that I was like, well, that would be cool. Because obviously when you're getting in trouble consistently, you're not getting any praise from anybody. I mean, even the counselor inside the place when I was locked up basically said to me, she's like, you're just one of those people. She's like, this has a 95% failure rate, and you're probably going to be one of those people who fail. You know, now whether she was a counselor who did that on purpose, I don't think so. It was said so maliciously. I actually believed what she was trying to do was just be like, hey, you're a statistic, don't bother working hard. But, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I never had another conversation with her or any of the people in there, so I don't know. But to be admired would have been cool. To be liked would be good, because I wasn't a real liked person either. And create this lifestyle of friendship. Like, that's the dream that I bought into with network marketing. I don't know what dream you saw or what you know. This wasn't about just paying bills. This was about creating the freedom that I wanted. And I saw people who had it, and I was like, if they can do it, I can do it. So I went out and I showed over 300 people my first year. And we're talking about including the time that I was in high school. That was my first year, December to December. So December of 2004 to December or January 2000. What am I talking about? 1994 to 1995. I showed over 300 people the program. We had to track it. That's why I know the number. Now, crazily, this is where I'm just going to relate to a lot of people. I got married at 19 because her parents, the ones I was living with, the ones that I was sponsored by, basically said, hey, you know, we see where this is going. You guys should get married. I didn't know any different. My family, everybody else was against it. I got married. That lasted 4 months. It was not a good situation at all. I got divorced. At the same time, I quit school, and I started into the massage business. About a year later, a friend of mine said, hey, we should go look at this. And we started looking at different opportunities. And it just so happened that I stumbled upon an ad that you could make more money in the newspaper, because I wasn't making enough money. I was constantly looking in the newspaper. And I called this place, and it was a mortgage company. And I went and interviewed, and everybody there was 19, 20 years old. I think the oldest person there outside of the owners were 25. So we were all young and dumb, and they were taking advantage of us drastically by, I'll tell you, the income. The average loan officer at that time was making 50 to 70%, and they were paying us $300 a week plus 7%. Or no, 10%, or $400 a week plus 7%. So I was like, okay, that sounds good. You know, because when you go from making $1,200 a month to $1,200 guaranteed plus commission, that seemed like $1 million. And it was $1 million back then to me, because I started closing deals instantly. and got it to about 40 grand real fast. So all of a sudden I'm making almost what my mom's making as a school teacher after a decade. She had tenure already. But about 6 months after that, I started feeling sick and went to the doctor and found out I had cancer. At the same time, I had decided to go self-employed because this is when I was transitioning from the massage business to sales, and I was switching companies. I was still doing massage. So at that time, I was doing massage, switching mortgage companies. I had no insurance, and I go into the doctor. I find out I have cancer. So I had also met somebody, and she was not from this country. And to make a long story short, we got married to fix her paperwork, and she kind of stayed and took care of me when I went through the first surgery. 6 weeks later, we find out that the surgery didn't catch it. It metastasized. It was all in my lungs, and basically we were told I had 2 weeks by the pulmonary doctor, but thankfully the chemotherapist and the guy who was the specialist happened to be in Indiana, so we moved to Indiana, and I started the treatment. About a month later, I woke up out of a medicine coma that they had put me in, and I was married. My significant spoke Portuguese, was from Brazil. Her mom had flown up. I didn't even know that because I was unconscious, basically, in the hospital. And I come back, and now here I am married, living back at my mom's house, who I didn't get along with my new wife that is 9 years older than me. You'll see a repeating habit of making bad decisions in this story. It's just getting started, though. This is just the beginning, and it's just a mess. So now it's like, okay, back to work, back into what I'm doing. What am I doing? What is my specialty? I got back into the mortgage business, and then I end up seeing this real estate idea that you can buy real estate stuff. Charlton Sheets was on TV every day. My stepmom actually helped write the Charlton Sheets No Money Down program. She was an editor and knew the guy who hired her to ghost. She was like a ghostwriter. I don't even know if I'm supposed to say that on film, but oh well. Nobody even knows where Charlton Sheets is anymore. He joined the Witness Protection Program in, I think, 2007. So I'm 23. I jump back into MLM. Yay me. At 24, that Christmas, we basically separate. She leaves, goes back to Brazil, says, I'm not playing poor. Basically, she said, I'm not playing poor and struggling anymore, because that's basically where we were. She had come from money and sophistication, and I had none of that. So that ended horribly bad. I don't know if you just, this was a spiral. I thought I had spiraled with cancer. Cancer was kind of like a fun time, comparatively. 24, she leaves. 25, in the mortgage business, I learned about subject to buying. Because she had left, now we didn't have some of the solid income to keep buying the houses, so I was kind of stuck with the houses without a way to keep buying, to buy my way out of the situation I'd bought my way into, because we owned 4 properties in our name together. And what I didn't know about was a clause called rapid acquisition. Rapid acquisition means when you buy too many properties too fast, that the banks actually cut you off after 4 loans if you've done that in a 24-month period of time, and you don't have the tax returns to show it. I was 25. I was stupid. I didn't know. So we get cut off. Then she leaves. Then I don't have the permanent income from job to qualify for the loans. So I was in trouble, and I knew I was in financial trouble. So I learned about the subject to thing, and I go get my real estate license as well. And from 25 to 28, I think I'm going to buy my way out of my situation. So if you're financially stupid and you think taking on several $1 million of debt is going to help you get out, that's what I did. I thought it would work, and it started working. I got it moving pretty fast. I got to $3.5 million in debt. I was paying out $28,000 a month in expenses when I was 26, 27. That's how much was going out the door before I made a profit. Talk about stress. I actually was trying to figure it out. I was like, it is literally taking me a day every month to write all the checks to all these different places. I was like, is there an easier way to do this? But I was stupid. I didn't know anybody. I tried to figure everything out myself. I'd never been taught mentorship or counseling or any of that. I just didn't know. Coaching. I was like, that would have helped. the internet was just kind of coming online where normal people used it. And I say normal people because I know the internet existed long before that for the, ultra super smart people. I was not one of them. So basically what that time frame taught me to do is I learned how to advertise, I learned how to work, I learned how to market, I learned how to sell, I learned how to close, and I learned how to get into another MLM because I kept signing up for these things. 2006, the builder that I was working with that was I was doing a lot of deals through, says, yeah, you don't have your paperwork right, so we're not going to pay you on these 9 deals. Those commissions were over $70,000. I found out in one day, I find out that I'm not going to have coming in. I fight them for the next 7-8 months. I get half of the money. Basically, I got 35 of the 70-some thousand that they owed me. And then everybody kind of knows 2007 story. 2007, everything comes to a halt. Nobody can get out of anything. By 2008, the writing was on the wall. The relationship's over. I know I'm depressed, but I can't figure out what's really going on, and realizing that everything's crashing around me. I was $3.5 million in debt. I end up going to see an attorney, and the attorney kind of laughs at me and is like, yeah, you're so deep, there's no job that can buy you out of this. Like, if you started working, you'd work the rest of your life and several other people's lives to get out. So you're going to have to file, there's 1 of 3 things you're going to have to do. You're going to have to get on a plane and fly somewhere we can't find you. That's one option. Or you're going to have to win the lottery, maybe more than once, because obviously $1 million won't even put a dent in this. Or you're going to have to file Chapter 7 and start all over again. I was like, okay, that Chapter 7 thing, well, how does that work? He's like, well, you're going to pay me this amount of money, and you're going to lose the house you're in, you're going to lose the car you're in, I was losing everything. Everything. So I'm like, okay, that sounds a lot better than owing what I owe right now. So I file, the house was already behind, I think, at that point. Or no, it wasn't. It was just about to go behind. I was borrowing money from everybody. And I don't know, like, if you go from making great money to borrowing just to eat, I just wouldn't, at that point, I don't think I was calling anybody or really letting anybody know how bad the situation was. I was trying to do it myself. But I started just, like, my meal for about 6 months is I found out you could buy oatmeal, like the big tub of oatmeal for like a few dollars, and that's what I had 3 times a day. So when people come to me and they try to tell me how bad their situation is, understand I'm probably not going to be like, I'm probably going to be really real with you, and I'll tell you the truth, but I've rarely found anybody that's been as deep as I've been. I was like, oh, are you eating oatmeal 3 times a day for 6 months or 7 months to get out of this situation? Are you in that situation? Are you living? I was basically homeless for a period of time that I also don't talk. It was in between the car, or I'd stop by a friend's house and, hey, can I do this? I always kept my gym membership because I could go take a shower there. So I was always clean. I always had nice stuff. I rented a storage facility because I figured, I can beg $100 a month to basically pay that and borrow $50 and I'll keep my gym membership. So I think my total expenses at one point were $200. But I ended up switching phones during this whole time trying to build real estate, and I don't realize in 1 month, because of outgoing phone calls, and this was before the whole, like, everybody has free service kind of thing, my phone gets shut off at the end of the month. And they're like, yeah, you have a $1,200 bill. And I was like, well, I asked specifically for the exact same plan. And they're like, oh, yeah, they didn't switch you to that. So I kind of called and tried to fight with them, and they're like, nope, $1,200 shut off. So here I am in real estate. That's my income, which 99.9% of everything you do, you're on the phone. I have no phone. I have no phone. I have no car. I have no food. I have no money. I have no house to live in. And I'm the big bad realtor, right? And I had just gotten into network marketing, too, kind of at this point. So I'm like, okay, there has to be a way out. 2008, I buy a $600 pickup truck right before I file bankruptcy. And they end up coming getting my car. It was a repossession, which is also a great feeling to get the phone call from your mom. You're like, yeah, some guy's here to pick up your car. I'm like, okay, cool. I planned it out with him, and I'm like, here's where it's going to be. And I cleaned it and put it together. I mean, that's just, I'm like, if I have to give something back, I'm going to give it back in the right order. And here's what I did. I actually used the builder's office to make all my calls. I found out the builder that also screwed me, which is really interesting, I found out that they had people who had days off. So I actually made a chart of all the days off people had and when people weren't going to be in their office, and I went and asked them for permission to come to their office to make calls to sell houses inside their neighborhood. And, of course, they were all getting the deal, so they all said yes. So that was kind of you talk about being creative and figuring out a way. So here I am, kind of homeless, driving a $600 pickup truck, which, by the way, did not have brakes. It didn't have a parking brake in it. It was a stick, 4 on the floor. So I literally had to put it in park so it wouldn't roll away. I forgot to put it in park one day, and I parked on a hill at an appointment, and I get out of the truck, and I turn around, and the truck rolls by me, and it's rolling right towards my client's car. This is when all of those years of track came into play. Like, I sprinted, jumped into the truck, slammed it in gear. Thankfully, did not hit their car. But I walk in. It was summertime. I walk in and I'm just drenched. Not really from the running, but from the adrenaline rush of thinking that I was going to be in an accident. Not good. So I used the builder's office to make all my calls. I have TTL. Thank the Lord. I actually had switched. For some reason, I had this gut feeling that I was taking too many incoming phone calls, and I switched everything, all my advertising, to a voicemail system that cost like $10. So all of my leads that were coming in from real estate when my phone got shut off were actually going to a voicemail, and I was actually able to go to their office, pick up the phone, call my voicemail, track down all the numbers, and call everybody back. That's how I bought my way out. So I started selling, and I literally sold houses and sold my way back out of this situation, rented a house, kind of started climbing back out. That summer, I end up winning a trip from my direct sales company to California. I kind of see the writing on the wall at the event and convention, and I come back and I decide to make a decision to absolutely crush MLM. So, sometimes people build because they figure things out. I built because I was starving. There's a reason. People are like, man, I remember you used to be so thin and so in shape. Well, yeah, I was thin. I wasn't eating anything. That's what happens when you don't eat. You become skinny and you have abs because your body's eating itself. That's why. As my real estate income basically was dying, I started building this MLM thing. So in March that year, my upline and I kind of came to a decision where we should kind of start our own, and we were trying to figure out how to start our own event. But we didn't actually do it. I just realized this. We didn't do it until January the next year. In March, I started my own call, but we didn't start an event until the next year. But September, I come out of that convention, and here's what I was at. I was making $350 in network marketing, and I say, I'm going to take it from $350 to the top of the chart right now. Like, right now. And in 71 days, I presented more than 100 times, and I sponsored at least 100 people into the business in 71 days. So we went from 350 to 900 to 1,800. In December, I hit the top of the chart. I don't even remember what we made that month. But January, the money was 5,200. Obviously, I started getting out of my situation. I could pay my bills. February, 5,400. March, 5,800. It kept climbing. I got out. Went to an event. My income just kept climbing. We kept doing better. I ended up moving forward. So, (2009 to 2012), we went from 300 people on the team to 900 people on the team to 1,800 people on the team to almost 3,000 people. Now that was reps, not customers. The customers was like 8,000. So this is how I got out. Now, what's funny is it actually got worse because in 2010-11, our company announced that it was getting bought out, and my income went from that $11,000 month down to about nothing, and then I went for zero. So I had a guy on my team that committed fraud. Now, this can't happen in some companies. In the company I was in a financial service company. One of my bigger organizations, the guy started committing fraud. He was stealing information from a school system and going and basically signing people up in the company's name using prepaid credit cards. And I mean, he was doing it to the aspect of like 30, 40 people a week. So I wake up to basically my account being negative thousands of dollars, not hundreds, thousands of dollars. Corporate basically sends me a letter and says, hey, I then call corporate. When the first day it happened, I was like negative $1,000, and I was like, what is this? And I call corporate, and I'm like, what's going on? She's like, yeah, do you know so-and-so and so-and-so? I'm like, yeah. They're like, well, they've written several bad deals. She's like, oh, this isn't good. She's like, within the next month, you're going to have over 35 cancellations pending right now. There may be more. So the ironic thing is I actually climbed out, and then I lost everything again. I basically went to homeless again. I ended up moving into my sponsor's house for a period of about a month, and then a friend of mine kind of said, I'll house you temporarily because I know you work hard enough. Well, you'll figure this out like you've done every time. I don't know how you keep doing this. It was because I was making bad decisions, but that's beside the point. So I ended up starting into a new MLM company in 2012 just as I'm starting to get out. I end up kind of getting back to at least broke and zero. And then I exited MLM completely. I woke up one day and I'm like, I don't even know why I'm doing this anymore. I was frustrated. I hated myself. I hated the industry. I hated everything. And I just needed a break. I needed to clear my head. I went through the Maxwell training in 2016. This is when my massage holistic business started taking off. I started dating somebody. I moved to Oklahoma for the whole year. In 2014, 13-14, I moved to Oklahoma, came back. So I'm living at on my mom's couch. My best friend gets divorced and says, hey, you can come stay with me. I end up renting an apartment, building my massage business, going through Maxwell's training. I meet Brandy, and I'm like, okay, I need to get life back on track. And I'm like, I've heard everything. I know what I'm supposed to do. I'm like, but this time I have to do things in order, not do it the Jeff way, which is jump ahead and cut corners and not do what I'm supposed to do. I need to do this the correct way. I need to write out the order in which it should be done, prioritize. And this, again, you can hear Maxwell talking now because, like, I can hear, like, reading his stuff just gave me so much clarity on why I had screwed up so many times. I'm like, I consistently do stuff out of order. I consistently don't prioritize. I consistently don't use the laws of leadership or the qualities that I'm supposed to use. I said, this time I'm writing it out and I'm following it to the T. I had some natural talent, but I didn't have the self-discipline to do it all the right way. And several people have said, man, when you finally figure this out, it's going to go, and it's going to go big. So that's kind of where I was at. I ended up also signing up for Trinity, and I went and got my ND because that was in the order of stuff. I was like, that is going to be a smart thing to figure out and do. We graduated last year, and it was funny, you know, I lined this up. I graduated from Maxwell, and what I realized in my time off is I loved the industry. I just hated myself. I love the industry. I hated myself. I hated myself for making the stupid decisions I did because it was actually my life decisions that were destroying my business. It wasn't the other way around. Because the rest of my friends that had their stuff together, they kept going, and they kept making money, and they kept succeeding, and I was the one who was broke and, you know, had all the problems. It was my life decisions that I was messing up. So I tell you guys all of this to share with you where I was at, to let you know anybody can do this, especially some of the people that I know through what we're doing here. I mean, oh my goodness, like you guys have like so many more better qualities, so many better decision making, so much better support, so much better thought process, so many more reasons to do it than I did. You know, and the main thing is I told you this story in depth because I wanted to basically inspire you that if somebody this messed up could make it, that you guys could believe you could make it. I wanted you to know that you could build even bigger than I've built and be more successful than anything I've done. And I've got this to where it's a full-time income. It's over $10,000. I worked very smart for a period of time, but my life decisions caught up. I want you to know you can absolutely do what we're going to talk about in this next section, and I not only wish that for you, but I wish what we're going to talk about in this next section is part of the answer. And I hope this is what you've been looking for to succeed. Is just, I know you've heard stories before, but I went really in depth here to let you have a perspective on where things are at. And some of you might be like, I don't want the rest of the story. You don't. I highlighted most of it. But I did it so that way you understand that anybody can figure this out. Anybody can do this. You guys have absolute, hope. And I've talked to a lot of you. I can tell you, you have light years ahead of me to be able to do it. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to stop the recording, take a break. I want to take, what time is it? I've got 2:39. I want to take 10 minutes. I'm going to stop. I'm going to download this so that way I can put it into recording, and I can free up the space so that way we can record again and have the whole thing recorded. And the next section is probably about an hour where we go into intricate detail, and then we'll stop it again, download it, and then we're going to do the Q&A so that way we have this in 3 or 4 pieces so it's palatable and easy to go through when we upload it. If that's cool with everybody, I appreciate it. So let's take 10 minutes right now. Thank you, everybody, for the time. I hope this is good. And if you can, just send a message to me, text message, if you're getting something out of this. Maybe write down, during this 10 minutes, what your greatest takeaway so far is. And if I've inspired you, that was the point. I appreciate everybody for being on. Give us about 10 minutes. Thanks. Okay, so the recording's back on. We're going to go ahead and get rolling here. So if you have a pen, you have a piece of paper, this is going to be part 2. And this is where the mindset comes in, the mindset of using leads. This is what it's all about. First of all, where do you find people when you first start recruiting? Most of us find, our list of people, right? Our friends, our family, our coworkers, if we're involved in clubs or organizations, our neighbors, our acquaintances, Facebook, social media. We're told to make this list, right? And then we're told to contact our people. I'm sure you've heard this before. Why don't people recruit? That's one of the things that I constantly have questions, and people ask me, well, why aren't my people recruiting? Why aren't I recruiting? Number one is a lot of people refuse to talk to friends and neighbors. Now, the reason I find most people are refusing to talk to friends and neighbors is the first reason is they didn't know what to say. And I totally understand that. Like when I first got started, if they wouldn't have given me what to say, I wouldn't have gotten started. I need more than, hey, just be yourself and go get them, which a lot of companies do. I'd say 90% of the companies, 90% of the people that I work with in the industry, it's go get them. You'll do good. And that's not necessarily the best approach. So I totally feel that I was in that situation too. Then you have the people that give up after 2 or 3 tries. They talk to 2 people, and here's what I find a lot of people doing who are new is you go out and you show this, and you're looking for, in the order of which you're looking for somebody to buy something so that way you can pay back what you've spent. You're looking for somebody to join so that way you're not the only one. But I find an even bigger reason is you're looking for acceptance. Am I right? You're looking for acceptance. You're looking for people to go, oh, that's a good idea. I agree with you. And if you want that reaction, go sell ice cream. I mean, that ice cream gets that reaction. Network marketing will never get that reaction. Dave Peters and I were talking about that. How do you, he was like, how do you avoid getting the negative reaction that you get inside the industry? I'm like, don't be in the industry. That's probably your best way or your easiest way. It's just going to be very, very difficult for you to do that because it's just not possible. Just making sure that everybody's muted here. Sometimes people hit it by accident. Okay. I know some people are calling in, some people are using stuff. So if I hear something or I just make sure that we have a clear call because I know this is being recorded too. So they feel that they don't know enough people or they don't know the right people. So there's a scarcity mentality that happens. Question, if companies are laying off people and incomes are low and people don't have enough to live on, then why is it so hard for you to recruit people? If people are looking, why is it so hard for you to recruit people? A lot of it's fear, and it's a scarcity mentality that, oh my gosh, I'm going to talk to these friends, then I'm going to run out, and then I'm not going to have anybody else. I was in that situation when I first got started, because that first year I talked to like 300 people. And then what happened the next year? The next year I had run out of the people that I knew, so now I'm having to go hunt people. That was why I was so driven to find another way to find leads, because I was like, I've ran out of people. I need to talk to people. So here's some different fears that I see people go through. And if you have these, you really, leads is going to overcome all this. I don't know enough people. Raise your hand if you've ever been in that situation. Say aye. It won't work. I had that one. It won't work for me. I had that one. Fear of losing friends, losing friends, losing friends. I had that as well. Change to the unknown, you know, oh, this is going to be weird if I do it, and I'm changing what I'm doing, and I can't let people know that I'm changing my profession. And, you know, so sometimes there's a image character thing where people don't want to let people know because of their full-time job of whatever they're doing full-time. They're like, this could jeopardize my full-time income, so they're scared for that reason. Then there's the rejection isolation. Well, if I tell my friends this and they don't like it, then I get rejected and I kind of get isolated from the people I hang out with. Now they don't want me to come around or hang out with them. And then there's also the success isolation. Some people are like, well, if this works and I'm able to make it, so people have these stories that they tell themselves that aren't necessarily true, but those are just some of the reasons I see people stopping, but leads can overcome that. When should somebody use leads? Here's a couple situations that I've had. When somebody comes from another country. So I sponsor my friend that I meet. Well, I don't sponsor him. He's in the meeting. He's a friend of mine. He's on the team. And we sit down, and I'm like, okay, is this working for you? No. Well, how long have you been in the country? 3 years. I'm like, okay. Who do you know? Well, there's these people who I initially came that tried to basically force me into, it was like slave labor. I mean, literally. He was Polish. He shows up in Chicago. And the people who he originally thought he was coming over to see are like, oh, yeah, we have a job for you, which really what they did is they kind of threw all these guys that they were talking into coming over into this house that had no heat, and they were having them work for like $4 an hour, and because they couldn't speak the language or talk or really, you know, they didn't have the proper paperwork yet to do anything, they knew that they kind of had their thumb on him in the upper hand. So he's like, it took me a couple weeks to figure out what was going on, you know, sleeping in a house that didn't have a shower and stuff like that. And we had to go over to this other place to like take a shower and figure stuff. It was bad living situation. But I was like, well, okay, who else do you know? He's like, well, I've been working this other job and there's about 10 people there. So he literally did not have a list at all. Everybody else he knew was outside the country. So I'm like, you're going to need leads. If you've had an extremely bad past, you know, I have some people, they're like, look, I've been not a really good person up until now, and I've hurt a lot of people through various things that I've done, and I need to start with new people. I was like, I get that. Somebody who lives outside the country, you know, has a past history of working with leads, wants to go through people faster. You know, you want your business to run quicker. You need something new and fresh and something that's working. You basically want to increase the investment. You know, you're like willing to pay the money to make this work. You're ready to make it happen. So these are all different reasons. You know, some people are retired and they've been retired for a while and they just don't have the social network anymore. And they want to build, and they're like, I have time, I have some money. I'm willing to work. I just don't know what to say and what to do. So these are some of the reasons. And by the way, is my screen showing up, Dave Roeder? Is my screen showing up to show the PowerPoint? Thumbs up. Is that a yes? Hopefully. So when someone should use this, because basically it overcomes the fear of not knowing the right people or the fear of running out of people. That's why leads work. Where do you find people? Well, you know, most people, after they run out of their initial list, they start using the 3-foot rule. So this is what typical network marketing teaches, is just go talk to people. Just go talk to people. Just go talk to them about your business. Talk to people while you're out, you know, form them. Family, occupation, recreation, the message, you know, people start learning that in the training meetings. Go pick up business cards. Go to networking groups and, you know, go attend different church. You know, somebody's like, well, go attend church. I'm like, well, what if you don't believe? They're like, attend church anyway. I'm like, that seems to be a little, like, deceitful. I don't think that's going to work really well. Old Christmas card list that you have. Old school book or yearbooks, we used to talk about that, but now you can go online and find those people. Facebook, LinkedIn. You start hunting people online is basically what happens. So what about lead sources? So I want to talk about all the different lead sources because people are going to bring these up and ask questions later. So I just figured we'd hit it up front just to cover these. So these are some of the lead sources, guys. Everything on this list I've done. And I'm going to talk about some stuff I've done that isn't on this list, but I've done all these. So when I give you what I'm going to talk about, it's because I've spent money in all these different areas, and I've also tried to help people do these different areas. And what I found was not only this, what I'm going to show you worked for me, but it worked for everybody else that I worked with. And that's the reason I'm going to give it to you in this order like this and give you the documents and stuff. So number one, Craigslist ads. I've done them. Newspaper. I've paid money to put ads in the newspaper to the amount of about $1,000 a month. $1,000 a month for job ads, career ads, business ads. Now I'm talking about the major newspaper. I'm not talking about the Thrifty Nickel or the County Gazette or anything like that. I'm talking about the major newspaper. I mean, man, I got calls. Like when that ad hit, it was like, boom, I didn't know what to do. And I recruited people. Here's the thing. I recruited people doing all of this. I just couldn't duplicate it in a lot of cases because of cost or complication. I've recruited people off of Facebook. I've used LinkedIn. I've used networking groups. I've recruited people using business cards or finding business cards at events or gas stations and or restaurants that have business card walls. Signs. I've called other people's signs, and I've used bandit signs myself. I've used go-to leads or go leads. I've used professional leads where they pre-qualify you for them. I've used resumes. I've actually gotten resumes from several different sources. Zillion resumes. I've recruited off of Zillion resumes. I've recruited from basically it's the equivalent. Workforce One is the equivalent of the unemployment office. So because I was a business owner, I got something in the mail. And I'm a traditional business owner because I'm a real estate company. I got something in the mail, and I got a phone call by an agency, and they said, hey, are you looking for employees? And I was like, I could be. You know, what are you doing? And they said, well, we're part of the unemployment office, Workforce One, blah, 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 blah. And because you have a 1099, or not a 1099, because you have an EIN number, you have the ability to, you know, screen people that are unemployed in the state of Indiana. I was like, what the, really? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, well, what does that cost? She's like, nothing. It's free. It's a free service. And I was like, oh. So I had to fill out all this paperwork, and they had to do a little bit of background check, and then they gave me access to the database of every single person that basically has applied for unemployment in the state of Indiana. So I had access to those. Obviously, that's not duplicatable unless you have a traditional business, and every state's different with how that works. I've used career builder websites. I've blogged, I've used YouTube, I've used, you know, all the social media platforms. Things that aren't on here, I've also used TV ads, ran TV ads. Now, I did that for real estate, and I will tell you that was probably the most worthless. It was really cool because I got, like, notoriety for it. Like, and what I mean by that is, like, random people walked up to me in the gym, and they're like, I've seen you on TV. And it was just so weird. I was like, okay. Cool. Awesome. You know, it's nice to meet you. It was just, it's the most awkward thing when you get known, especially in the media. Like, I do understand. I kind of understand that where it distances you, where people start seeing you differently when you're in the media, because when those commercials ran all the time, what happened to me in the gym was really awkward. Like, I didn't like that kind of recognition. It was just weird to me because I've never felt that I've done anything great or been any better than anybody else. So, like, when people are like, I've seen you on TV and it's so awesome, it was really messed up, like, to me. So leads fix all the possible issues. Leads fixed, I don't have the time. Leads fixed, I don't have a list. Leads fixed, I'm in a rural town, rural location. Leads fixed, hey, I've got a bad background. Leads fixed, hey, I have a low income and I want to talk to some people who have money. Leads even fixed the socially awkward, because, I mean, some of my friends were, like, really, really awkward in person, but I taught them how to be a professional on the phone. And I was this person. I was socially awkward. I didn't know, because remember, I grew up most of the time I was grounded. I was in my room, or I was locked up, or I was getting in trouble, or I was in detention. I was socially awkward. I did not have the skill set. I didn't have the skill set to go and be in a room with people and network with people. Like, I wasn't good at that. I learned how to be good at it. I'm decent at it now. I mean, some people are much better, but I still, guys, I still have anxiety going to do that. Like, it's nowhere near what it used to be, but I'll still walk into a room and kind of like shut down sometimes, and I don't even know I did it until after I left the room. I'm like, that was stupid. I was supposed to do this, this, and this, and I'm the one who teaches this. What is wrong with me? Sometimes you still deal with it. So you're never perfect. At least I haven't found a way to do that. If anybody knows a way to do that, let me know. Dave Peters and I were just talking about, he's like, well, isn't there a way not to do this, to not get rejection? And not? I said, Dave, if you could figure that out, man, me and you could write a book. We'll put it out there, me, you, and Bess, and Brandy, and we'll sell it, and we'll be gazillionaires, and it'll be over. I was like, no, there's not a way to do that. So here's the idea behind the free lead system. Ads. We're going to talk about getting some ads out there. Ads and leads are a great way to increase recruiting in your business. However, they're not recommended to be the sole method of prospecting. But when an ad or lead program is used in conjunction with warm market, cold market, the 3-foot rule, it will increase your business income. Here's what I found. When I start doing leads with people, what happens is their prospecting skills get better to the point where they're able to meet people easier when they're out, because what happens is those skills get so good that now it becomes natural to talk to people when they're out. And here's the thing. When you do this over the phone a lot, you start sounding different. You pick up the cadence or the tonality of an authority, and people will listen to you differently. It's really cool. So the best way to become a great recruiter is to do it daily. That's ideal, to do it daily or many times a week, 5 days a week. Whatever your mix of recruiting activity, whether it's cold message, cold market, text message, Facebook, third party, email campaigns, you have to do something every day to make this work. When you focus on recruiting daily, here's basically some things that are going to happen. So this is what I talked about in the free, but this is the details of it. Number one, it improves your overall psychology. You start working through all the emotional mental blocks because it's coming in all the time. Why? Because you start seeing results. What I found is just seeing the results of the leads coming at you builds people's belief. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to have to go hunt people all the time now. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to have to chase people down. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to have to spend hours and hours on LinkedIn or Facebook trying to have these weird interactive conversations. These people are calling us. It's positive. Number two, you get into the success groove. You pick up the rhythm. Research has shown 21 days, create a new habit. That's really not that long, only 3 weeks. As you develop your new habits, it becomes easier to pick up where you left off each day. There's less rehearsal. There's less memorization. There's less preparation. There's less fear. And I will tell you this, if you take a couple days off, you start all over again. It's just you get better faster. Just like anything you do, if you take a couple weeks off and you don't work out, right, Bess, and then you go back into the gym, that first day seems awkward and your movements are awkward, and then it takes a little while to get back into it, but you'll get it. If you start doing this more and more regular, it helps, just like working out or a sport or anything else. Psyching yourself up, more confidence. Eventually, you get confidence and you're just able to do it. 3, you start developing relationships with the potential recruit. So even if you don't get a hold of people, if you do what we're talking about and you leave messages and you call them once, twice, 3 times over the course of a week, I do it every other day. If I don't get a hold of somebody, I don't call them every day. I do it every other day. That's just me. You start building a relationship. They're like, man, this person's consistent, committed. I couldn't get to it the first time. I forgot about it the second time. The third time I answered the phone because this person, oh, yeah, Jim, yeah, you've called me a couple times. They start getting to know you. So surprisingly, you develop a relationship with people you've never spoken to, who have never returned your call and who don't even know you. This happens because potential recruits are noticing, basically, they're paying attention to the messages you're leaving, even if it's recorded, even if it's a text message. That's just what happens. So after a number of messages, they basically get a sense of who you are, and they begin to actually, in the brain, it's like you guys have met, just like what happens on social media. Because people come up and talk to me, they're like, oh, I see you all the time on social media, and I've never met them before. And they kind of feel like they know me because they see the personality that I have on online. An hour of recruiting every day, think about this, an hour adds up to 260 hours of prospecting a year. 2 hours a day adds up to 543 hours, is 700, almost, you're nearing 1,000 hours. If you've ever heard the phrase 10,000 hours makes you an expert, now you can start doing the math on how this works. So within 1 to 3 hours of recruiting, you can actually get a ton done and have an entire pipeline of potential people where, think about it, as opposed to going out trying to meet people where you might meet 1 or 2 people in a period of time out there just walking around. If you're in a rural area, you might run into 2 or 3 cows and a pigeon and a hawk. And I only say that because I'm thinking of friends of mine that live on farms. I'm like, they're not going to run into that many people. You know, hey, I talked to 2 Amish people, and I asked them, you know, I'm like, hey, do you have a phone I can call you? And that's an Amish joke, but they didn't because they don't believe in that. So, but here's the funny thing is I actually was in a network marketing company where I believe it was Amish and or Mennonite, I think both, got involved, and they did very, very well in the company, even though they didn't have the phone or the connection. They actually, it was wild how they built. But they built a very large team. So I would say don't count anybody out. And I only make that joke to point out the fact that you should go out of your way to learn how to deal with more and more people, to learn how to get along with more and more people. I wrote a great thing Rob Schneider put up. He's like, you know, if you would shut the TV off and stop listening to the news and all the negative people, you'll actually find out that people are actually a lot nicer and a lot cooler than the TV would or news or media would make you believe. Just go out and be a good person and, you know, act generally interested in people, and it's amazing how they actually will react once you break through that initial wall. So you develop posture. This is the 4th thing you get. You develop posture. Daily leads gives you basically an emotional charge and security while recruiting. In turn, provides you the confidence to be able to talk to anybody at any time. Anybody at any time. So here's the system. I'm going to show you basically how to set up a Craigslist account. Because this is one of the ways you can create leads rather than buying them. I just feel if you can learn how to create leads, you will learn so much more through the process of creating them about how this works than just buying them blindly. Now, if you just have money, buy them blindly in the beginning, but I would still suggest learning how to create them. This is probably the best way, and I was thinking about all the different ways that I've used. This was probably the most inexpensive way to get good at leads. And it's universal because I was able to do this in Canada. I was able to do this in Mexico because Craigslist is like a worldwide account. Is you can do this worldwide. I've actually, in one of my businesses, I was contacting people in, I started in the morning. I said my morning. My morning was like 11 o'clock. I started in the morning on the East Coast, and then I went to the, you know, Central, and then I went Mountain, then I went Pacific, then I went Hawaii, then I went Asian Pacific. So I was hitting Japan, Korea. There were certain places where English was more prominent, obviously Australia, New Zealand, parts of Asia, and then I went into Europe. I contacted people in South Africa. I mean, it was awesome when I did this. This was through internet marketing based, but I was able to talk to people. Like, so it's just depending on the company you're in. Start local and then grow from there. But Craigslist is everywhere in the world. And that's why I liked it, and that's why it worked. So number 1 is I'm going to teach you how to place a successful ad. Now, I'm messaging you a list of 20 different categories and a few. There's only a few specific ads. You don't need 100 different ads. You just need a few specific ads based on your company, what you're doing, who you're looking for. I've got one that's really short and simple, and it works in some cases just as well as the big long one that has more words. But I'm going to show you I'll kind of give you the mentality. I'm going to read through them here. Step 2 is text message. After the lead comes in, you text message to contact the lead. I found using high tech to get to high touch. High tech is I'm going to use some kind of messaging service to talk to a lot of people real fast to find out who can talk to me. And then I'm going to use high touch on the pre-qualification of these leads, and I'm going to show you what that sounds like. Then we're going to talk about presentations. That's why the school is so important. Step 5. Third-party invite to the event. I'm going to show you how we do that, and it's working better now than it ever has because I'm using text message. And then step 6, and that's why I said it was really 5 steps. So the 6th step is basically leading them to the 10 core, leading them to the basics training, leading them to what we're doing inside of this school, so that way they can get started the right way and they learn this stuff. Because What if you could put yourself completely independent of, you don't need anything. You don't need an upline necessarily. You don't need corporate support. You know how to build independently on your own, and you can teach other people to do that. That sets people free where they're not dependent upon somebody else to provide them with everything, so therefore you don't have to get into political games with people. Bess and I were talking about that yesterday. So is this good so far? You grasping what's going on? Is it too much? I told people originally when we were going to do this, I said, I'm going to give you more information than you could probably comprehend. So you might have come with a Dixie cup, and I'm basically bringing a fire hose. But take what you can now, grab that concept, get that started, and maybe it's just the wording that you're going to get out of this is going to help you the most. So number one is setting up a Craigslist account. So you're going to need to go to Craigslist.org. You're going to need the following stuff. You're going to need an email address. You're going to need to create a passcode and a valid number. Now, this is if you want to create the leads yourself, which is what I'm going to suggest you doing in the beginning, because it is absolutely by far the most inexpensive way to create leads. Now, some people are like, are they good leads? There's no such thing as a good lead. There are leads, period. My upline specifically in one of the companies that I was in that I built the biggest was a Craigslist lead. His upline, which is also my upline, put an ad on Craigslist. He answered it. He did a presentation over the phone, sent him information, had him drive, brought him up to an event, and that guy ended up building one of the biggest guys in Southern California. He left that company, went on to be a $600,000 earner in another company, and right now, I think he sits at $500,000 and runs the market of Las Vegas in a company. He just put his second book out. He was a Craigslist ad. So when people argue this stuff with me, I'm like, I'm sorry, I have too many examples of success. I know it works. You know, you might not like it, you might not agree with it, and most likely you don't understand it, but I know it works, and I'm going to show people how to do it the right way. Now, is this for brand new people? Beth and I were talking about this yesterday. No, it's not for brand new people, unless that brand new person has already done leads. Unless that brand new person has already exhausted the warm market. If you see that this is the only way a person's going to succeed, meaning they don't have a warm market, they don't have a list, they don't have anything, but they're like, I absolutely positively want to build a network marketing business, and I'm willing to spend a little bit of money. And what I mean a little bit of money, I'm going to show you how to do this for $20 a month. Bess, have you ever heard of a lead program that works as $20 a month or less? It doesn't exist, guys. I mean, it doesn't. Now, you could spend more money than this, but $20 is kind of like a base to run off of. Most people are like right now going, that doesn't even seem possible. But that's why when I told people that I was going to give the value of 10 to 100 times what this class cost, I'm literally going to do that. And you'll see that here in a second. So step one, placing a successful ad. Where do you place it? There's two sections that I found to be really good inside of Craigslist. Number one is in the job section. There's a bunch of categories in the job section. There's sales. There's business. There's sales, business, part-time. There's business opportunity. I never put it in business opportunity. The reason being is most of the stuff in there is crap, and I don't want to compete against that. I typically put it in sales. I typically will put it in sales, customer service, and or part-time. But you can also put it in gigs. You can put it in gigs weekly for $5 and spend $20 a month. And I found that the gigs section produces just as great a people as the job section. And it's $5 a month, or $5 a week, because we suggest placing a new ad every week, and I think now it runs 7 days anyway, so that's how long your ad runs, every 7 days. You're going to choose a title from the PDF. I'm going to read the titles, but I'm going to send this to you, but I didn't have the time to put up this in a PowerPoint, and this is the stuff that sometimes will change a little bit. So let me pull this up here. Where'd it go? Oh, it's in my folder that I'm sending everybody. Imagine that. So I'm going to read to you these ads. Agent profile advertising. Advertising system part 1 and 2. Here they are. So these are some of the titles of the ads. National Sales Executive, Sales Management, Seeking Part-Time Professional, Sales, Need a Second Income option, or Need a Second Income. New Network Marketing Company, obviously you use that if you're new. Area Executive Needing, Area Coordinator, Area Account Rep Wanted, Local Account Rep Wanted. Sales Executive, Interview Today, Start Tomorrow, Sales Manager, Sales Opportunities, Sales Professional, B2B Sales. Because I know certain people are in network marketing where you're actually selling your network marketing product to a business and you have to present it to a business. So that's the kind of person you're looking for. So what these are is these are ads specifically written to find people looking for work. They're looking for work. They're looking to make money. Where do you find people who are looking to make money? Do you know they're already searching? They're already searching. They're already searching for this stuff. So you're going to choose from these titles. Then you're going to choose one of these pre-written ads. I've written the ad, and I've actually put the spacing together. So you literally copy and paste, and the spacing has to be exactly like I have here. The biggest thing I can tell from an amateur to a professional is they will take a marketing message and try to make it their own, and you have zero marketing background. It doesn't matter what you think if you don't have this background. And I'll say it like this. The reason why you can't just walk in and become a doctor is, first of all, you don't have the skill, but you also don't know the compliance. You don't know the rules of the game. You know, whether that's surgery, psychology, whatever, you don't know the compliance behind it, and you don't know the rules of the game. Therefore, you're not going to be good at it. Do not edit this. And if you want to edit anything, ask me before you edit it, and I'll tell you probably why it's not a good idea in most cases. And every once in a while, somebody has something, and it's awesome, and I'm like, you're absolutely correct. Change it. But just ask me first, because I've spent thousands of dollars doing this. I don't care if you change it. I just want you to make money. I just want this to work for you. So here's the first one. It says inside outside sales, and then it has the city. And it says we're currently seeking part-time and full-time sales reps with the following qualifications: excellent people skills, high energy, positive attitude, desire to work, ability to sell face-to-face and over the phone, strong communication skills, and time management. I got a question for you. Would you want a person like that on your team? But isn't that who we're looking for? So we're kind of spelling out this is who we're looking for. Now, advancement and promotion is offered immediately upon completing your first couple sales. Doesn't that sound like what happens in network marketing? But the verbiage, the words I'm using are not network marketing lingo. Why? Because that's not going to relate to 95% of the people. 95% of the people need to hear it in the language that they grew up and were taught. Obviously, if I wrote this in Chinese, this isn't going to work really well for most people. Come on. Actually, that was Vietnamese, but whatever. Shishini, that's thank you. I don't remember what okay is in Chinese. But advancement and promotions offered through completing your first few sales. So those interested in becoming a team leader will also be asked to help with interviewing, sales training, group presentations. Does that not sound like a network marketing leader? That sounds like somebody who wants to take over a market, right? Requirements, candidates should possess. So this is when I'm really hard screening people, depending on the company. So I have a friend, and I'll give you where this fits in. He was in financial services. So if you deal with anything that deals with like high-end compliance, this is the type of person, this is the type of ad that will attract the higher-end people. It says 4-year degree or equivalent experience will be taken into consideration. Ability to start immediately. Professional appearance only. Now, what does professional appearance mean? It's open, really. But most of the time, people who don't have that appearance or don't think what you're trying to do is you're trying to have the people who don't have the self-esteem to weed themselves out. Prior background in sales, marketing, teaching, training, management are a plus. Public speaking for group sales is a plus. Interested individuals are to paste their resume into the reply email. No attachments, please. So what did I do? Can you follow directions? Guys, what if tomorrow, what if you were able to place an ad like this? Some of you are out in California places. What if you were able to place an ad like this, and tomorrow when you woke up and you had 20 or 25 or 30 qualified people who fit that description. I mean, you talk about recruiting. I mean, you know, you could fish pretty easily in a pond that had bait, you know, that the fish hadn't eaten and they were looking and you had all the bait. Now you just need to know what to do with them when you get them. Now, after you place this ad as it's written with the spacing right, then they're going to ask for your credit card info. You're going to either put it in the gig or the job section. The job section in some places is free. In most places in the country, it's $25. In California, it's the most. Why? Because California costs the most. New York costs the most. Miami costs the most. Those places, I think, are $35, and in some cases, they're even more. But the gig section is about $5. Here's the next ad. This is the short, sweet, simple one. Sales, recruiting, or sales management. Again, you have 20 different topics to choose from that you can put this out there. It says no experience necessary. We train you. Great location. In this case, it was paid weekly. If your company pays differently, you have to edit that piece. Commissions and bonuses. Internet leads can be provided. And then this one was specific for a friend's company. It says, you know, bilingual and Spanish is a plus. Please email your resume. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's 8 lines. That's it. That's simple. And people are like, it doesn't tell them what it is. I know. It gets a whole lot more ads. It gets a whole lot more response. Because people ask, well, what is this? Sounds good. Well, it sounds like it has some flexibility and some freedom. And for those of you who joined this and are part of this, when I write a new ad, I'm putting that new ad inside this lead section. So it's something you can come back to, and you might get a new one that'll be like, oh, my God, that's even better. Because I regularly sit down and write these, and I comb through the Internet, and I'll look at several hundred of them and find out what's working and what's not. Because I do have this background, and I do have a kind of a unique ability to choose the right words in the right order. I don't know. That's just a weird, like, when somebody says something to me, I actually can visualize what the other 4 personalities will think when they look at the ad. And when you can do that, I'm like, that won't work. Beth can attest to us having these conversations, and I'm like, here's what I see when you say that. And it won't work in these 2 instances. It'll work, but it won't work in these 2 instances. So is that really the best way to convey it? And then we'll talk, and we choose different wording or different language, and that's how we're doing what we're doing. And she's shaking her head, so I'm guessing that's a yes. So here's the next one. It says sales management. It says we're expanding rapidly and expanding into every state. We're currently looking for market makers. So this is if you want to go into necessarily an area that doesn't have anybody. We're looking for self-motivated people to join us. You work from home part-time or full-time. It's completely up to you. You make your own schedule. This career holds unlimited potential. So am I saying job in any of these? I'm not saying job in any of these, but I'm also not using the phrase home-based business because that is like the death of an ad. This career. Is network marketing a career? Yes, if you choose it to be so. Not everybody looks at it as a career, but you need to use the language of what you're creating. I'm creating people who are career-oriented. This career holds unlimited potential and a recipe for success for an inspired, it's supposed to be, for success as an inspired individual ready to work. Plus, it has a potential 4 to 7 day work week. You choose the hours. You can work 2 hours per day or 15 hours a day as long as you get the job done. We train you, and this is nothing against anybody's company, but I got asked this so much on one of these ads, I actually added this to it for comedic relief more than anything. No, we are not selling vacuum cleaners and knives. Because I got asked that. No prior experience necessary. And if you are selling vacuum cleaners or knives, take that off. Most importantly, this is so simple a 6th grader can do it. We're looking for the right people to join our team. Requirements: computer with internet connection, basic computer skills, positive attitude with the drive to succeed. A vehicle and communication is required. Any experience in the following may help. So this ad is specifically geared for keyword. What does keyword mean? It won't mean anything to most of you, but keyword best, and those of you who are internet marketers will understand, keyword is how you come up faster in people's search terms. So here's the keywords. It says sales, management, security sales, manager, medical sales, marketing, alarm sales, home security sales, dish network, dish TV, door sales, door-to-door sales, call center, telemarketing, solar, timeshare, mortgage brokers, outside sales, insurance sales. I mean, it goes on forever. Roofing, AC, air conditioning, pharmaceutical, car sales, boat sales, RV sales, financial advisor, solar. The other thing that I'm doing with all these words is if somebody reads this, they're like, I mean, can you imagine somebody calling you and be like, I didn't know this was about sales? I'm like, really? Do you know how many times it says sales in the ad? 3,000. And you couldn't figure that out. I can already tell you're not the right person for this because you can't understand, like, basic concepts. And not to be mean, it's just you're the wrong person. Home improvement sales or hiring organizations. Is this good? Is this helping? Okay, awesome. People are like, yes, it is. Dr. Chris, I just muted you again. I don't know. Can you still hear me? Still got sound? Okay, I just muted you because I just realized you might have hit something and unmuted yourself. I just heard something move, and I was like, for the reverb. Cool. Okay, so here's the next one.
Hey, Jeff?
Yes.
Do you want to put the ads on the screen or just read them?
I don't have the ability to transfer them because they're on a different computer and it would take too long. This is a document. These are documents that I am giving you that are already pre-written. So they're in the PDF form. You're able to copy and paste. And they're going to be both, I'm going to email them to everybody, and they're going to be in the Facebook group. So that way you can see them. I'm just going over them now to give you guys an idea of it. Obviously, nobody's going to be placing ads while I'm doing it. Maybe somebody is, I don't know. So the next one is opening new market. Opening new market, compensation, money, employment, full-time, part-time. We are, and this again is comedic relief, it says we are the 9-to-5 job's worst nightmare. We're opening a new office in the city you're in. It just says we're opening a new office in Indianapolis in January. We're looking for people currently. Our company is one of a kind. As a sales consultant, you'll be responsible for marketing and selling our products and services to qualified clients. Our sales reps are earning big money per sale. Our sales reps are paid weekly. Again, based on how your company pays, you have to put that in there. Our top earners are earning well over 6 figures a year. Do you understand? Saying your top earners are earning over 6 figures is all you need to say. Telling people that you have somebody in your company that earns $2 million is not helping you. Our top earner makes $17 billion quadrillion and is paid in Bitcoin and XYZ ARP aluminum foil. Nobody cares. Like, it's not relatable to anybody. Quit telling people that. To the average person, just say, hey, we've got several people in our company making over 6 figures. That is enough to impress, to get them in. If you use the bigger numbers, it's great to talk lingo with network marketers, but when you're advertising or you're trying to recruit people, especially the people you don't know, especially the people you don't know who have no involvement in network marketing, you are blowing them out because it's not relatable. We provide the training, full training, start earning immediately, management opportunities available, marketing materials provided, daily mentoring. Requirements: must have reliable transportation, sales experience preferred but not required, must be personable, outgoing, and self-motivated. Does this make sense? Do you understand the language that I'm using here is very generic, it's very wide. People are like, well, why isn't anything about the company in it? Compliance. You're not allowed to put your company's name in the ad. Do you know that? A lot of people don't know that. You cannot write an ad and say, I'm with XYZ company and I'm recruiting. You can't say that. This is generic ads. Now, if you were a recruiting broker, meaning you did temporary you recruited for many different companies and you were a recruiting agency, this is the type of ad you would use. Now, why do I know this? Because I worked for one before, for a short time. So here's what's next. Once you get leads, now the document I just read, that's part of this training. You're going to get that. It's all pre-written, so you guys can look at it and we can talk about it, but I just didn't have time to transfer all that information to here, so it'll be emailed over to you, and it'll also be in the Facebook group. So you want to go join the Art and Science of Leads, the Facebook group, so that way I can add you. If you haven't done that already, make sure you write that down and do that, because that's where all this information and content, and if you want to follow up with me, that's the way to follow up with me, because I want to be able to do videos and put that stuff in there so that way everybody can learn from the questions, because we're all going to run into the same stuff. And sometimes we can learn as a group. You know, I'm not one to say I'm the only one that creates it. I mean, I've gotten ideas from the people I work with in the massage business, and they're brand new and they've only been here a week, and they're like, oh, well, I did it like this. And I was like, oh, wow, that's awesome. Wow, that's smart. Why didn't I think of that? I've been doing this for 8 years, and I didn't think of that, and you've been here a week and thought of it. I'm like, people are smart, man. You just be open. And if I say, hey, I've tried it and it doesn't work, it's because I'm trying to save you money, not because I don't think, I mean, every idea is valid if you learn from it, right? So, 6-step recruiting system. Step 2, text message. Text message. Contacting the lead. This is the text message. It's in red. It says, hello, my name is Jeff Gamble. I'm a recruiter with. Now, I use Inner Circle Marketing. That's a generic company. Dr. Chris could use C, and I can't remember, your last name starts with an E. He could use CE Marketing or WWCE Marketing. WW starts with Work With Chris and his last name, and then Marketing or Enterprises. It's generic. And if somebody looks it up, nobody knows what it is. If you look up at Inner Circle Marketing is a marketing company that recruits people if you look it up on Facebook. And people will look it up. So it's not necessarily a bad idea that if you create a company like that, and I always do it as an LLC because it is an LLC for me. And again, this is where it's a little bit more sophisticated. This isn't for everybody. And if this is too much already, you just buy leads. If you're like, I can't do this, this is too much, you just buy leads. You buy leads from a company. I'll show you which companies you can buy from. I'm going to put a list of them in. I don't belong to any of them. I don't buy from any of them anymore. I create all my own leads. That's just me. My office passed me your number and let me know you inquired about part-time work. Are you still looking? What did I say about home-based business? Nothing. What did I say about network marketing? Nothing. What did I say about MLM? Nothing. What did I say about working for? Nothing. It's just, are you still looking for work? Because that's the language of 95% of the people. Now, if I'm specifically targeting network marketers, I wouldn't use that language, but that's not what we do. So here's the response back. Yes, I'm still looking. No, I'm not. What is it? Where is it? What company is this for? Who are you? These are the majority. This is probably 80% of what comes back, 90% of what comes back. Obviously, if they say no, you move on to the next person. I think you guys figured that one out. If they say yes, this is the next text message. Are you available for a phone interview right now? Is this making sense? What if they say, well, what company is it? Are you available for a phone interview right now? I don't care what they ask me. Are you human? Is this in Indianapolis? Is this in California? Are you available for a phone interview right now? I'm going to cover all that is what I'm saying. But I'm in control of the conversation. Now, if they get belligerent, 1 out of every 100, guys, people are nasty nowadays. And what I mean by nasty is they have no respect. They're not cordial. They're dealing with stuff. Some of them have substance problems. Some of them have relationship problems. Some of them are just angry at life and the world and this, that, and the other thing. And don't be surprised to get back some crazy profanity, blah, 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 if you do this. That's normal. It does happen. And here's the thing. It's not a network marketing thing, and it's not a Craigslist thing. I have people doing that from Google. I have people doing that from my traditional business. I've called back people looking for houses and gotten profanity and everything else and been sent awful stuff. People are just that way. That's part of the business. And it's just not network marketing. It's business, period. You have to learn how to, build some thick skin and just move forward. And here's the thing. When you have it happen to you, you share it in the group and say, I can't believe this person just said this, and everybody else doing it will then share their awful, crazy story, and we'll all laugh, and you'll feel better, and we'll move forward. That's what will happen. That's what you should do, at least. Every industry has their bit of crazy. Right, Dr. Chris? Some more than others. So, step 3, pre-qualifying leads. Remember, ads are a great way to increase your business. However, they are not recommended to be the sole method. Guys, this is not everything. This is just part of what you're doing. It is a launching pad. So, to get the best results from the program, place ads weekly. We already said that. We suggest you following the lead script exactly. Remembering the reason, these calls should take 5 to 10 minutes. So, hold on. To get the best results of the lead program, after the application is taken, you will call your designated upline and give them the information. Now, if you don't have a designated upline and you don't have somebody else playing the game with you, you're just going to do what the upline will do, and I'll show you what to do. So we suggest the following script lead the application exactly. Remember, the reason for the first call is only for pre-qualifying and not for selling the product or the program. These calls should take 5 to 10 minutes only. That's the qualification process. Not the presentation, but the qualification process. You are the only, if you are on the phone longer than that, you're probably saying too much and your prospect will not move forward. You'll want to add things. You'll want to talk about things. You'll want to use the wrong tonality. Some of that stuff in the beginning. But once you get this down, I'm going to give a mock example here in a minute. Pre-qualify the leads. You should call leads within 24 hours when they come in. Keep in mind, they respond to you, and they've responded to several other places. Remember, people looking for work, they'll respond. They'll put out 10, 20, 100 resumes. That's what people teach to do. They don't remember which one it is. That's why you have to identify yourself quickly and make them know. Call your leads as soon as possible. I've always been told in the real estate business or the mortgage business that time is your enemy. It's the same thing in the massage holistic business. Time is your enemy. The more time that passes after somebody contacts you, the less likely the person will be interested. Do it now. Phone techniques. The best way to jumpstart your business is basically going to be on the phone. The phone is a huge time saver. Guys, when I learned how to present over the phone, I was like, oh my gosh, where was this in my life? The better you are on the telephone, the more successful you'll become. So practice makes improvement. It won't make perfect, but it'll make improvement. Recommendations: record yourself making calls and listen for ways to improve, or make calls with your active upline support, and they can always listen for ways to improve. So I'm going to hit something really, this is a huge topic for those of you who want to recruit and want to do this. Everybody on here, this is where you need to take absolute notes and you need to pay attention like for the next 5 minutes. More than anything else I'm going to talk about is this. If you use the right words and you use the right order and you use all the techniques I have, but you're one of these people that have bad phone etiquette, this will not work for you. Let me describe bad phone etiquette to you. You try to do 15 things at the same time, and you put people on speakerphone, and you're ordering pizza, and you put people on speakerphone, and you're washing dishes, and I can hear your kids screaming in the background, and I can hear you getting shit out of your car, and I can hear, I can't hear 3/4 of what you're saying. The wind's blowing. You're not in an office closed off from everybody, and you're not doing this as a professional. This will not work for you. If you have the TV blaring in the background, if you're watching a video and laughing in the middle of it, and you're having a conversation with another people, and you're petting your dog and your cat and having conversations with them while you're doing it, or you're screaming into the next room, this will not work for you. Why? Because people are going to pick up in 30 seconds whether you are a person who's going to help them or not. And if you do any of that ridiculous stuff that I hear a lot of you do, it won't work for you. If you put somebody on speakerphone and you're interviewing, quit now. Unless you're in a designated office that has a speakerphone that's absolutely clear with no other distractions in that room. But the first time I hear one muffled word because you're not talking directly into your phone or you're mumbling what you're talking, you know, I mean, I have friends that I talk to and they're like, you know what I'm talking about? I was like, no, you haven't said anything yet. You mumbled something and then asked me if I knew what you were thinking, watching, or talking about. That's not communicating. If you're serious, you speak clearly. Here's the thing. Imagine if the police called and somebody in your house is missing and you need to give them specific directions to your house. That's how clear you should be. Okay, this is... Okay, cool. So I say that because this is the number one thing that I see from network marketers who blame this on ADHD. It's not ADHD. It's not being a professional. It has nothing to do with your personality. It's not being a professional. Professionals, when they make these phone calls, it's in a clear designated place. If you need to make all your phone calls in the car and shut yourself off from everybody, I mean, turn the car off, please. Turn the car off. And you just need to drive somewhere where there is nobody else around, a park, a parking lot. I mean, do it where it's safe, you know what I mean? But, you know, if you need to isolate yourself like that because you have kids and family and everything, fine, fine. But do it where it's clear. It will not work where you're not paying attention 100% to what you're doing. I'm just letting you know. A friend of mine and I stopped doing these type of calls at Starbucks because there was so much noise in the background. Every time I went to call somebody, there's a blender in the background and somebody walking by, and somebody's like, are you in the kitchen? You're in the middle of an interview and you're in your kitchen blending a milkshake? What the? This isn't a real job. I'm done. This isn't a real career. You're wasting my time. Now, that might be harsh, but I'm just... My goal is to give you exactly what you need to hear to make this work. I'm not here to make you happy. I want you to make money, and this is what it takes. So I'm going to pull up another list that I'm going to give you. It's 12 tips for success on the phone, and I've got several sales tips, things that I've written and or found that I'm going to be able to give you guys that will help you. And that's all going to be in that Facebook group. So the reason this Facebook group is going to be really important if you plan on doing this and making success. So number one is warm up and make sure you have a clear mind and you're in a good mood before you make the calls. Typically what I started doing is I started calling people that I know who had great attitudes. Bess, certain friends of mine. I would call ahead of time and I would have a short conversation. Very short conversation with them, just telling them, hey, I'm about to make some phone calls and this, that, and the other thing. I'm just getting my mindset right? That's what I would do. I later learned about Tony Robbins and his incantations. We'll put one of his incantations up, and I think I have one of them here. When Tony went to deliver a message, Tony used to scream this in the car on the way to work. You know, I now command my subconscious mind to direct me in helping as many people as possible today by giving me the strength, the emotion, the persuasion, the humor, the brevity, whatever it takes to show these people and get these people to better their lives. And he would say it over and over and over again. And it does, man. You say this a lot. It will build you. You know, and he has a couple really good ones. I will lead, not follow. I will believe, not doubt. I will create, not destroy. I'm a force for good. I'm a leader. I'm going to defy the odds. I'm going to set a new standard, and I'm going to step up. He said it every day before. So this just kind of puts you in the mood. You know, and sometimes you're not in the mood. Sometimes I have to watch somebody powerful who has authority to get myself in that vibration to take that on. Does that make sense? So I'll listen to a Tony Robbins. I'll listen to a powerful speaker. Somebody you relate to. But somebody, watch this, you're looking for somebody that has authority. Because you're going to pick up, there is a vibration that people who have authority speak with a certain tone that people who do not have authority cannot speak like. And do not speak like. You need to pick that up. Because remember, this, when you're calling leads, you went from being like this on level playing ground to doing this. You have to come in like this. You have to come in like you're an authority and you know where you're going and you know where you're leading these people. You cannot come in a bumbling, fumbling, non-committed, I don't know what I'm doing person, because if this person has any bit of structure in their life, they're going to identify instantly that you're not somebody who can lead them to where they need to go, and it's done. The conversation's over. And it takes a little while. That's why you want to get lots of leads, and you want to do this several times, and eventually you'll go like this. Ding, 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 even. And then the minute you go here, it works for you. Now, some of us, like me, I was starting on the floor or below. Like, I had a long way to go to get to 0. And some of you might have that. I'm just telling you, it can work for you too. It can work for you too. So, here's what's next. 12 tips. Number 1, warm up. Make sure you're good on the phone. Number 2, all your phone numbers are ready to go. The number of people you're going to call is set out ahead of time. Don't go look them up one at a time. Pull all the numbers from your voicemail, from your wherever, print them out, write them down. If they're resumes, like what we're talking about, print out all the resumes. People are like, oh, that's going to be expensive. It's going to be a whole lot more expensive to stay broke. Print them out, have them ready. Have a pen ready. You know you're going to need a pen. Have a notebook ready. Don't be like, oh, I got to go get my notebook right away. I know you're not a professional. You know, you're going into the next room, screaming at the kids on the way out, moving the dog. I can hear all that in the background while you're on the phone trying to interview me. Yeah, right. Decide how many calls you're going to make before you begin. Obviously, if you have 50 incoming, you know, you can't get to all 50. Go through 10, 15 at a time. Number 4, be respectful of time. No one likes being called too late. My cutoff time was always 8:30 p.m. in whatever time zone I was in. 8:30 p.m. I never called anybody early in the morning ever, 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 ever. Saturday and Sunday are different. Saturday, I would make these type of calls, but I'd make them between 1 and 5 only. 1 and 5 only. Wake somebody up on Saturday, you will never be able to recruit that person. Ever again. Never talk to him. It's over. Five, keep the area around your phone clean and free of crap, so you don't set one of them down and then go shuffling through looking for the rest of them. I'm raising both hands. I'm guilty of this. Why do you think I wrote all this? Because I did it all wrong. Don't spend more than 1 hour on the phone without taking a break. Because what will happen is you'll lose that tonality, you'll lose that cadence, you'll lose that vibration most of the time. Do it in hour segments. Smile. Smile. You know, first smile before talking. And this is actually psychologically true. Dr. Chris and Bess can back me up on this, I'm sure. When you smile, they can actually, that's a vibration. People can feel that even over the phone. People know, even over the phone. They can tell. If you need to, stand up. If that makes you feel more authoritative, stand up while you talk. Here's the thing. You have to talk more intense and or louder than the person you're talking to. Not argument style, but louder, more authoritative. And you have to talk at a speed faster than them to assume authority. If you're from the South, you got to speed it up. If you're from New York, you got to slow it down a little bit. And hopefully you know what I'm talking about. I have some friends that I'll get on the phone and I'm like, dude, you even have to slow down for me. And I process information really fast. 9, keep calls short and get to the point. Understand, these people, you're trying to recruit them. They're looking for work. They're not here to talk about the weather. And they don't care any of your personal anything yet. You're not here to build a relationship with these people. Build rapport very quickly, but you're not here to build a relationship and find out how their kids and what their dog. Oh, that's so nice. That's so sweet. The minute you're losing them. These people are looking for work. Get appointments. Get off the phone. Keep good records. If you want to know how I did this, how I finally figured it out, I tried notebooks, I tried digital, I tried everything. I wrote on the back. I printed all the resumes, and I wrote on the back. I called this person on this date at this time. So the next time I picked that resume up, I looked on the back. Okay, here was the last time I called them. Now I know what to do. That's just how I did it. You have to find your own system. That just worked for me. Keep good records, so that way you know what's going on. Don't call the same person 3 times. Done that too. Hey, this is Jeff Gamble, Why do you keep calling me? Because I don't take good notes, basically. Be professional. Tell this to my people that I work with inside the massage business. I don't care what they say to you. I don't care what they do. You become a professional. You're a professional regardless. Hang up the phone. Thank you. You're not who we're looking for. This isn't for you. No problem. I don't care what profanity, what they send you. Do not get emotionally involved in the outcome and or their response. Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Next. It's hard to do. It's really hard to do. Man, because I have that like vengeful fight personality. When somebody challenges me, that actually inspires me to fight. Like I want to come after you, that's not a good thing. Like that's a flaw of mine that I'm still trying to overcome. And that's why it's better to do it over the phone, because people used to try to do that in person to me, and it was not good. Set a goal for the number of appointments you want to set each day, or the number of presentations you want to set each day. And when I do 3 presentations, I'm like, I'm good. Now, if I can do anything extra than what I set, great. But your goal is to do at least 1 presentation every single time. So that is 12 tips. Now let's get into pre-qualifying. You guys ready? Like, this is really the reason you got here, but I need to just set it up first. People are like, we've been here for a long time, Jeff. Pre-qualification lead sheet. So here we go. I'm going to text Bess. Hello, this is Jeff Gamble. I'm a recruiter with Inner Circle Marketing. The reason I'm contacting you is because my office sent me your information. I want to know if you're interested or still looking for work, right? That's the text message. And Bess, is it okay if I unmute you real quick? Or, yeah. Maybe? You unmute yourself.
I did.
Okay, there we go.
How about we stand up and let our bottoms get circulation for a minute?
Yep. Shake it out.
Okay.
Okay, so really quick, we're just about at the 4 o'clock, and I want to get through this because we want to open this up for Q&A. Do not try to be too friendly. It does not work, and they won't listen anyway, and they will not show up and or participate. You should be serious, nice, but use professional posture. Think about it this way. Think about James Bond and the Terminator. James Bond is, calm, cool, collected, very decisive and to the point. The Terminator, objective-oriented. That's how you have to be with these calls. They have to see you and hear you as an authority. You're qualifying them, not selling them. Understand? I'm weeding people out. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to text message, and Beth says, let's just say she says, what company is it? Because that's very, very common. She says, what company is it? Hey, my office passed me your information. You're still looking for work. She says, hey, what company is it? I'm going to text, do you have 15 minutes for a phone interview? And she texts back, yes. So she texts back, yes. I make the phone call. Bess, I'm just going to have you roll through like you're looking. So just play along, and I'm going to go through this entire application so you hear what somebody's going to sound like. And this is how I do it. So I ring, Bess answers and says hello, and I say, hi, this is Jeff Gamble from Inner Circle Marketing. I'm glad to get a hold of you. My office passed me your information, and I want to give you a quick overview of what we do and what we're looking for, but I have a few questions, and I want to confirm some of the information you sent us. Is that okay?
Okay.
Now, understand what I just did. Here's the psychology behind it. What she wants to know is what company is this and what we do. I tell her I'm going to give you that information, but first I have questions, and I want to confirm information that you sent us. She doesn't remember what information she sent us, so she says okay, because in her brain, and everybody's brain that would do this, would be like, okay, you want to confirm the information you already have. I want to know that too, because I don't remember what I sent you. So what it does is it feeds into and answers all the questions just like the favor script does. So the first question I said, so are you looking for something part-time or full-time right now?
Well, what company is this?
Okay, so what I want to know is are you looking, or were you just sending out information?
I'm looking.
Okay, part-time or full-time ideally?
Part-time.
Okay, so I just have a couple questions, and I'm going to get to exactly what our company is and what we do, okay?
Okay.
What current
how
job?
How long will this take?
Like I said, about 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just about 15 minutes. I just get real quick questions. I'm going to confirm some of the information you sent us, and just make sure that's correct. And then I'm going to give you a quick overview, and we'll go from there. So you said you're looking for something part time. Are you currently working now?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And what do you do currently?
I am a secretary to an attorney.
Okay, fantastic. How long have you done that?
3 years.
Okay. And the position you hold as secretary, what are your duties like? What do you do?
Phone, prepare documents, contact people. So, yeah,
Okay.
People skills.
Fantastic. And I'm guessing you probably worked doing something before that. What did you do prior to the secretary?
I was a school teacher.
Oh, awesome. How long?
About 4 years.
Awesome. My mom's actually a school teacher. What grade?
6.
Okay, 6th grade. Now, is that part of the junior high, or is that still elementary?
In this school, it was elementary.
Okay, elementary ed. You said you did that for a couple years, position taught schools. Okay. And anything before that?
Just a mom.
Oh, okay. So were you stay home for a while?
Uh-huh.
Okay, and then went back out in the workforce. Fantastic. So have you ever been self-employed or owned your own business?
No, but I wonder about it.
Okay. What have you looked into?
Not much. I'm just beginning to. But
Okay.
I'm thinking I want something on the side.
Okay, something on the side of what you're currently. So you're not really looking to leave the secretary position.
Maybe. Maybe.
Okay. Okay. Which is more important to you, flexible hours or making more money right now?
Both.
Both. Okay, that's a good one. Most people are right now. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your communication skills?
8.
8. And what's the highest level of education you've completed?
2 years college.
2 years college. Okay. Did you end up with your associates?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, Beth, what I'd like to tell you is you basically are the person and have the background that we're looking for. What I'd like to do is give you a quick overview of what we're doing, and then I'm going to go into basically the 10-minute presentation right there. And I'm going to say, look, the company we're working with has been in business for this long. Here's their background. Here's where they're located. Here's the name of the company. Here's the need of the marketplace. Here's the products we offer. Here's how the compensation works. So we're looking for people who are looking to retail. We're looking for people who are looking to gather customers. We're also looking for people who are looking to build a team or a network. And then here's the timing of the company, where we're at, and some of the people. So that's basically who we are and what we do. Now that you know who we are and what we do, what would you say your level of interest is on a scale of 1 to 10?
5.
5? Okay. Would you say you're more interested in the product end of things or more interested on the money end of things?
Again, both.
Okay. Okay, fantastic. So here's what I'd like to do. The next step is I'm actually going to connect you with Mr. Kelly. He's basically one of our support team, and what he's going to do is get you the information you need to kind of look into this further and actually tell you what the next step is. I'm going to connect you right now. through text message. And here's the text message that is sent. Hello, Mr. Kelly. I'd like to introduce you to Bess. We just spoke about our company, and she would like to know more info. On a scale of 1 to 10, she said she was a 5. She wants to know what step to take next, and then basically I would also include Bess. This is Mr. Kelly, one of the top leaders in our company and marketplace, and a very good friend of mine. And I said, what Mr. Kelly's going to do is set up a time to actually talk with you, get you the rest of the information, and tell you what the next step is. Sound good?
Okay.
Okay, fantastic. It's been great talking with you. I look forward to hopefully talking to you again.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Boom, we're off the phone. Now, all that set up to have that conversation, it's the order in which the wording goes that makes 1,000% of the difference. Is setting it up right, having the right ad, now I'm in front of the right people who are looking, and now we're pre-qualifying people. The questions, those questions are basically, you're finding out and building rapport. You're looking for something part-time or full-time. Are you currently working right now? What is your background? As I got her background, I connected on the teacher thing. Oh, that's funny. My mom's a teacher. It's just relatability. I'm not going to go into a story about it. I'm not going to get off track. It was just connecting with her. Does that make sense?
I liked it.
And then I go into the questions, currently, are you looking for more money or flexible hours? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your communication skills? Have you ever owned your own business or been self-employed? If so, what company and when? And then the last question is, what's the highest level of education? The reason that question sits at the very end is it's a put everybody back on their toes. Maybe I don't qualify. Does this need to have a 4-year? Like, I don't remember what the qualifications were. So what it does is it regains authority. So remember when, Bess, you remember when you started asking me, well, can you tell me what this is? And you asked again. If somebody gets kind of like they try to take control of the conversation, that is the question I will ask to regain control of the conversation. I said, look, before we go any farther, do you?
What is this about?
Yeah. Bess, do you have a 4-year degree?
Nope.
Do you see how, like, all of a sudden she has to back off? Now, if she does, I say, great. Is it in business?
Yes.
Or business or business management?
My 2 years in business management.
Okay, so you have a 2-year. So let's say she's like, no, I don't have a 4-year degree. Is that a requirement? I was like, no, not necessarily if you have the background we're looking for. So what it does is it regains authority and grasp, and sometimes they do. They have awesome. I mean, I asked one lady, she was kind of asking me a bunch of questions, and she's like, yeah, I have a master's degree in business. Awesome. So, you're probably, I can already tell from talking to you, you're probably the kind of person we're looking for, and I might need to get you on the phone with somebody else, but I'm just here. I'm supposed to ask these questions and pass this information along. So I asked her, I said, don't make this too hard for me.
How many hours a week is this going to be?
It really is work. So you wouldn't actually get to ask that question because I wouldn't let you. I'm going to run through and I'm going to get to the point really fast. Do you see how my cadence was right to the next thing? In fact, the key is when you first start out, if I say, hello, this is Jeff Gamble from Inner Circle Marketing, I'm going to give you a quick overview of what we're doing. I'm just going to confirm. This is Bess, right? Yes. Great. My name is Jeff, Inner Circle Marketing. My office passed me your information. I'm going to go over, give you an overview of what we do and what we're looking for. So basically, I just have a couple questions. I want to confirm some of the information you sent us. Are you currently working right now? Do you see how there was no pause? I'm not looking for a response for her. I'm telling her what I'm going to do.
I did feel totally led. Yeah.
If you pause, it's like you're opening the door for them to talk to you. This isn't a two-way street. I'm interviewing you. Does that make sense to everybody? That's why it works. That's why, and it took me a little while to get people to kind of understand, but once they grasped the concept, they were like, oh my gosh. So I went through this over the phone with a friend of mine. She went in, set up her Craigslist ad. and this is in a totally separate company. This was somebody that I was helping do another company. I said, look, these are the questions you're going to ask, and this is how you're going to do it. And you follow the script exactly, fill it out, take a picture of the application, and send it to me. She's like, okay. She calls me back about an hour later. She goes, okay, I have 6 applications. What do I do? I was like, what? She's like, I have 6 applications. I was like, no, we had set the ad up days before, but she was like, okay, what's next? I said, well, here's exactly what we're going to do. She had taken 6 applications in her first hour. She's like, Jeff, I'll be real honest. This is the easiest thing I've ever done. Like, ever. Not just inside of network marketing, inside of sales. Like, this works so well. Like, do you teach this to everybody? I'm like, no, not to everybody, because everybody doesn't need it. She's like, well, you should. She lived in Michigan. I was in Indiana. So do you see how you could train people all over the country to do this? This is why it works so well. Now, if you're in a rural area, what's the biggest city? Now, Bess, you're pretty rural where you're at, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the biggest city that's close to you?
20,000.
Okay, what's a bigger city?
There aren't any. That's the biggest one in western Kansas. You have to go east to maybe 60,000, if an hour or two east.
Okay, so you've got Kansas City. What's next?
Lawrence.
Okay, Kansas City, Lawrence. So I would probably target Kansas City, and what's to the west of you?
Lawrence. Oh,
okay, what's
west of me?
Huh?
Denver.
Okay, Denver's plenty big. What's south of you?
Nothing. Till Oklahoma City would be the biggest city.
Oklahoma City would be another one. So that's 5, 6 hours.
Right.
So think about this, guys. Draw a circle around where you're at in a 4 or 5 hour radius.
Mm-hmm.
That's local. Now, if you live in New York City, you can draw a 1 minute walk around because there's like 500,000 people in a building. And I jokingly say that, but you know that's true. Southern California is the same way. You don't have to go far. But let's say you don't want to build in your own market. You want to talk to people. Well, look at another market. Let's say, job-wise, you work till 5 o'clock in your Eastern Standard Time. And you get home, you got to do what you got to do, and you don't want to you don't want to get into conflict with the spouse, wife, whatever. And you're like, look, I'm going to do this after 8 p.m. I'm only going to work after 8 p.m. That's the only time I'm going to work my business. So you actually set up a Craigslist ad on the West Coast in Pacific time, and 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time is 5 o'clock out on the Pacific Coast. So you're able to call from 5 to 8 without any problem. Problem solved. Time is no longer an issue. Now, if you're in California and that happens, call Hawaii. You know, make it work. Does this make sense to everybody? Okay, so that's the process. Can you do it with other forms of advertising, other types of leads? It's the same process. I don't care if I get a lead from, GoPro leads or GoED leads or, Build Lasting Success leads or any of the other lead systems. I use the same process. Here's a lead application. I say the same thing every time. You might have to tailor it a little bit to your company, but that's basically the process and then the pitch. Now, can you do the same thing and then send them to a video? You can. It just will not work as well. Because I've had people like, well, I'm so scared to present, I'm just going to send them a video. If that's all you can do right now, that's all you can do. Do not expect great results with that. Because if you interview me on the phone for a real estate, insurance, any type of job, and you try to send me to a video, that is the last conversation I'm ever having with you. You don't know what you're doing. Your company obviously doesn't have intelligent people at it. I won't work with you. And neither will anybody who makes any decent money. Does that make sense? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the lines. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and shut the recording off. And we're going to take about a 5-minute break. 5-minute break, and then we're going to turn it back on, and we're going to do Q&A. So, guys, we're back. What we're going to do right now is walk through the last part, which is the Q&A, and we've already gotten a bunch of great questions here, and I'm just going to start with, the first one. Dave, are you there?
Me? Yeah. Or the other Dave?
Dave Router. You were the first one who wrote.
Okay.
And I'm just closing this out here.
So it's just, there's a lead program I belong to that creates leads for network marketers, direct sales.
Okay.
So people in direct selling or network marketing.
Can you use this technique on them? Is that what you're saying?
Well, you can use a technique, but more about the technique and the script.
Which script?
The way you were going through the interview process.
Yeah,
Discovery process.
Because my guess is if even if they're in network marketing, they worked a job or did something before that, right?
Yeah.
So all that's doing is building rapport with you and getting to know them a little bit and getting them to feel comfortable with the process, because that's the process you'd go through if you would interview somebody. If you go to an interview, that's what they ask you, right? They sit down and say, are you currently, what is your objective? Are you looking for something part-time or full-time? So we kind of know who you are and what did you do before, and, give me some details on the job you did. What did you like? What did you not like? And you get all that, and then they start asking you specifics about, if you worked here, do you work better on a team or do you work better individual, right? Those are questions that get asked inside of a normal job situation. So, yeah, you can use those. You can use this technique with any type. I've done it where I've picked up somebody's business card at a networking event, and they said, hey, I'm looking for work. And instead of doing the friends, do me a favor, I'm like, look, our company's actually really looking for people. Are you available for a phone interview? And I used this script to get them. And they were like, wow, they're like, and this is direct sale? This is I can't believe that this process, who created this process? So the answer, yeah, you can use it with them. I am going to answer the next question here was, they're coming in. Doris, are you sending lead generation companies list? Yes, I'm going to put that in the Facebook page and email it out. So yes, you will be able to get that. So if you want to buy leads, if anybody has, here's the thing, if anybody has any companies that they've used that they like, I will say put it in there, but at your own discretion. Look it up and use it. If you want to ask me about it, some I've heard about before, pricing, this, that, and the other thing. I've spent 30 cents all the way upwards of $7 for this type of lead, per lead. Per lead. In real estate, I've spent up to $500 for one lead. So just kind of depends on, buying leads can be inexpensive. So here's the next person. Next question, can you script? Yes. Doris, can I recruit for you? Denise, probably not. I can't even get my own stuff done right now. Do you have third party to pass on appointments to? What's the other ways to do it? So if you don't have third party, you're going to present, you're going to ask them on a scale of 1 to 10 what their interest level is and say, hey, look, I'm going to send you the information to help you figure out what you want to do, and the next step is actually to get on this training, right? Because most of the time they have a live training of some kind. So I'm going to send them the videos, whatever videos that normally you'd send out to begin with. I'm going to send them the video not to prospect them, not to be the initial information, but it's going to be the confirmation, it's going to be the validation of what I just told them. And if your presentation is congruent with the information you just sold them, then what happens is that bind starts happening where people are like, I'm getting a good feeling about this. Denise, I don't know if I saw your other question. Hold on, I'm going back. Can you recruit for me? Denise. I don't see another question from you. Maybe I'm wrong. Denise, can you put that in there again? Because I don't see your other question. I just say, can you recruit for me? So Lewis asked, you do not have a third party to pass on your appointments to, so that's the way around that, is you're going to have some pre-done videos from corporate. I would pick one of your product and one of the company overview. And what I would try to do is I would look for the most relatable person to the greatest group of people. I wouldn't find 10 videos. I'd find one video that's the greatest. Like, I looked through all the videos and I found one video in the companies I've been in. I found one video that kind of covers the basics of the whole company and the compensation plan. And I find another one. Excuse you. I find another one that's like that. That it's more about the product line itself, that gives any of the details if people have like specific like ingredients and stuff like that. I'll try to find kind of like the scientific mind version, but I make sure the video is clear. I make sure I can hear. If it's visual too, I'll look at kind of the graphics and the visual and make sure, guys, people are so weird today. I make sure that nothing's said that could be congrued the wrong way or is compliant. You know, if somebody's on there, oh my gosh, this cured this disease, and my hair grew back, and you know, my gas mileage went down, and the paint on my house is brighter, and you know, I mean, when people just like oversell it, I'm like, don't send that kind of video. But we can talk about that, Lewis. That's a great question. So I'm going to go on to Linda. It says, do you use your personal phone? Is there any way they can find your? If you do, is there any way they can find your address? Won't the people who come to you in your company thought the lead method, they won't start the system with their new hire rather than start them with their warm market? So here's the deal. So I use my personal phone when I do this. I don't know of any way for them to backtrack that to get your address. I don't know what that's about, but that's kind of a separate question. And then won't people who come into your company through the lead method? So everybody's like, oh my gosh. So if you do leads, doesn't that mean they're going to automatically want to do leads? They might want to automatically do leads, but we start everybody the same way. That's why the 10 core exists. Here's the 10 core. Here's what everybody starts with. Everybody starts with a list of 10, and we're going to go through to get you ready to do these leads. My rule is if you want to learn my lead system, if you want to learn this, you got to go through your warm market first. We got to go, and not your whole warm market, but we got to go through that first 10 so I know you're serious. You go through your 10, you put me on the phone with 10 people, do me a favor, we're going to show you how this works, unless there's some kind of weird circumstance. Now think about it. If that was the case, that people who get started through a lead system have to go through a lead system and it won't duplicate, then how did my upline, who was recruited through Craigslist, go through his warm market to find me? Right? How did that happen? Now, what's ironic is 3, 4, 5 up from him, the guy that ran our whole organization of 150,000 people, he was recruited by a street sign. He called a street sign that said, make money from home. And that's how he was recruited. And his sponsor quit. That was a mistake. His sponsor bought signs, put them up, got a call, recruited this guy. It was the only guy he recruited. He wasn't doing nothing. He quit. About a year later, he started building, put 150,000 people in the company. Went on to be one of the top 100 earners in the world, and his sponsor quit. Oops. Don't get out. So she also asked, I'm just kind of reading all this, they won't start the system with their new people the right way. Not true. When I asked Bess, are you interested in the product or income, do you tell them about the product? Yes. So I'm going to do a full presentation. The 10-minute presentation is, here's a little bit about the company, here's about the need in the marketplace, here's the product or service that we're marketing, and some of the details. This is your 10-minute presentation. The 10-minute presentation that we teach with the favor script is the same 10-minute presentation I go over here. It's the exact same one, exact same information. It's just how you lead up to it is different, right? So it's kind of like I have two groups of people. I have my friends, family, and acquaintances that I ask for a favor, it goes to the presentation. If I do the lead, I'm pre-qualifying them first, so there's like an extra step, and then I do the presentation. Then basically, from there, it's the same process all the way up. On a scale of 1 to 10, what's your interest level? Is it more the product or the service? Great, let me get you the info, get you to an event. Once they get in, 10 core, start everybody the same way, and run them through. Do you tell them about the product? Yes. I didn't hear you say anything about that. Yeah, so I kind of went through that fast, but it's your 10-minute presentation. So that's good. Sending text messages to the person, we are setting up the presentation. Basically, yes, you're setting up to pre-qualify them, and then the people who pre-qualify. Beth? Unmute yourself.
I think that I wonder if Peter was asking about after the presentation. You asked me, "Are you more interested in the product or business?" I said both. So what if the person says product, then you follow up with a video or a call about the product. You go ahead and do the product.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Let us know if you need anything more.
Yep. So the next question, do you kind of want to help me go through these, Bess? Because the next one is Doris. She says sending a text message to a person, or are we setting up the presentation?
Sure, you want me to respond to it?
No, I'm just helping me go through these.
You guys, Jeff, you answered that earlier. Someone else, thank you.
Okay, cool. I'm just making sure that we get to everybody. I'm going to go on to Steve. Steve says, we're talking with somebody that responds to an ad. If they continue to ask for the company with, also, if you say the company and someone already has done an overview badly, I mean, it's happened before. It's certainly happened before. Somebody's like, oh, yeah, I've already heard of this. I said, from a professional, somebody who's making money, or who were you contacted by? I mean, I try to have a conversation with them. I mean, some people are just like, no, I'm done. No, I'm done. I'm done. Okay, cool. Next. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about leads is there's so many people. The minute somebody, look, if somebody's abrasive, if somebody uses language, if somebody gets on the phone and they're on speakerphone and they're yelling at their kids and they're ordering a Coke in the background, I'm just like, you're not who we're looking for. Thank you. And I hang up. I'm a professional about it, but I get off the phone. I'm like, there's no bullshit. Like, I don't have time for it. There's so many people looking. When you do this, you don't have to waste time. Like the moment I pick up, language or anything weird or, I mean, I've had some weird conversations with people. I'm like, nope, you're done. Next. Well, what if I come to the interview with peanut butter rubbed on my face? Hey, you guys have a great day. I wish you the best. I hung up on the guy. Where are we at? So that's how I answered that. He asked another question, but we'll get to that. Is there anyone 1 cent leads? I mean, if you think about it, when I've created leads on
Craigslist.
So yeah, when I've created leads through Craigslist or Signs, I mean, the guy running the event here in town for the company I used to work with is the guy I recruited from Sign 10 years ago. He's running the event here. So when people are like, well, what's the retention rate? I'm like, well, it seems to be pretty good, depending on if you do it enough. Just like if you recruit anybody, right? So, cost doesn't always equate to quality. Denise, I'm still waiting to see if you wrote. I might be down here. Linda. What if the video is all about the product? Then find one that's not. I mean, I have 2 videos. I don't care what company it is. I find 2 videos. I find one that's specific about the product, and I find one that's more about the compensation. So that way I have both. And sometimes it doesn't have to be about the compensation as much as maybe a trainer that goes into, hey, look, guys, this is a different way to make money. If you know who Robert Kiyosaki is, you've got these 4 different quadrants, and they kind of do a little bit more education on the, hey, this is a different industry, this is not typical, and just kind of sets them up to be okay with it. But I'm not doing it. An opportunity video talks about the business and product. Yeah, that's perfect, Linda. An opportunity video that covers both. Say, great. And I just tell people, I said, look, it's really not split into 2. So if you're interested in the product, listen to the first part. If you're interested in the opportunity, listen to the second part. But it's the same video. And people are like, oh, okay. I wrote it above Doris's question about home meetings. I don't see that.
Can you copy and paste it and put it in again?
Yeah.
Jeff?
Yes.
What it is my company has home meetings and hotel meetings weekly.
Okay. Right.
And I was just asking, using this format with these leads, do you prefer that they join, set up, then send them to a hotel meeting, or see if that's an availability versus everything on the phone?
Okay, so that's a great question. That's a really good question. What I always suggest is try to have them make some kind of financial commitment to at least get a position before I send them to one of the big open houses in another state, in another place, unless I can physically meet them there. Just because, not to say somebody would say, hey, join with me instead because I'm right here, but I find that that happens more often than not. So I don't leave anything to chance. I don't tell people just to randomly send people to meetings. You know, everybody has the stamp, I'll take care of your person. But what happens if the person walks into the room and is like, yeah, but the lady who called me, I don't even know. I know you. I want to sign up directly with you. It happens. And then that person is put in a weird spot and you're put in a weird spot. And if that person feels more comfortable with the person they walk in the room with, that's, you know, that just, it's part of doing business. But I would try to mitigate that or stop that from happening by setting it up ahead of time. Set it up ahead of time where, hey, if you're interested in getting started, yeah, there are events, but the events are kind of more specific for the people who are already in. Some kind of financial commitment. And then, once they're in, here's where to go. And this is the difference. A lot of companies have a price to get in. Then they have a price to get in with a package and a price to get in with a bigger package and a price to get in with a bigger package. Usually they're tiered like that. I'm not asking them to buy a bunch of stuff, but I'm like, look, if you're really interested in doing this and working with me, I need to see some kind of commitment from you. I'm not asking you to buy a household full of stuff, but does it make sense to get a position with us for $50, $60, $100 to see if you're serious? That's where I go with it. Once they've made some kind of financial commitment and I know they're tied directly to me, now let's talk about sending them to a meeting.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Where are we at here, Bess?
Denise, I've expanded.
Okay, Linda, what happens if okay, I've expanded my Facebook friends list to continue, join Facebook groups, but I'm hesitant to directly Facebook Messenger the new friends on Facebook about the business. As not wanting to seem insincere. Yeah, absolutely. So what you want to do is build a little bit of rapport. Hey, I see your stuff all the time. That's why that's the favor script is for Facebook. Like you friended some people. That's why the favor script works. It's like, hey, I see you're in Florida. Hey, I see you're in New York. Hey, I see you're in a different part of town than I'm in. And I was following your page, and I look and I like some of your stuff, but I had a huge favor to ask you. Like, I'm working on something outside of my normal job, outside of what I normally do. Could you do me a huge favor? I'd like to be able to share with you what I do, so if you would ever run across the right person, you could refer them to me. That's part of our school. Yeah, the favor script is perfect for that. Chris, what's the ideal length of a video? I think I try to start with stuff that's that says everything it needs to say. The shorter, the better, right? Because people's time is eaten up. But see, once they're interested, I gauge on how fast they get to it. If I'm like I sent a video over to somebody just recently, and it wasn't even a company that I was in or participating in, but they're like, yeah, I'm kind of looking at this, that, and the other thing. I said, well, do you know about this one? No. I was like, here's the video that I watched on, because we were talking about the industry. I said, here's the video I watched. This is the one I would do. If you're going to do that industry, that particular thing, this is the one I would do. It was an 18-minute video. He called me back 20 minutes later. He's like, yeah, that's really good. That's somebody who's serious, right? And we were discussing the whole thing, so I'm like, this is the first video that explained the whole thing. Like, people would give me bits and pieces of this one particular company, and I'd heard a lot about it, and it gets a lot of press, a lot of Facebook coverage. But I just didn't know about them. And I'm like, I'm going to learn about this company. And I went in and I learned, and there was an 18-minute video, and when I sent it to them and they'd watched it 20 minutes later, I was like, okay, that was the right one. Now, I am involved in another company that has 2 cartoon videos that are like 5 or 6 minutes long. One of them was about the product and one of them was about the compensation. And they were so good that I used those. Now, most of the company doesn't use those, but most of the company didn't recruit 40 people frontline either. What else?
There's Steve's question. Last person, she wouldn't say why she didn't like the company.
Move on.
Right.
That's what you're going to do, leads. You don't have to like, okay, cool. I'm happy for you that you don't like the company. It's great. I always agree with people. As I told Dave Peters yesterday, I don't argue with people. People are like, oh, man, you know, the network marketing industry, blah, 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 blah. It was really funny. I was actually having dinner, late dinner, with a friend of mine last night. We were at Outback Steakhouse, which is awesome. We have the wings, and they have the best carrot cake in the world, by the way. It's not better than the Cheesecake Factory, but it's really, really good, very rich. And we were sitting there, and we were talking about something, and something was brought up about a friend of mine in network marketing, and I got into this conversation with a bartender at the same time, and she's like, oh, really? Well, what about that? And I said, well, a friend of mine, you know, did this and did this and did this, and then started a non-for-profit where he adopts kids because he had made so much. He had made a bunch of money, but he was 55, and he went to the U.S. government, or he went through the adoption process in Indiana, and they wouldn't let him adopt because he was too old. Worth millions of dollars, but wouldn't let him adopt. And I was like, which I think is horse crap, because, I mean, this guy would have been able to spend every single day with his kids and ended up doing it. But he ended up having to fly to Russia to adopt because our system's so messed up. And then he started a foundation, and she's like, what does that guy do that he has that kind of money? Now, listen to my response, and it's so funny, her response. I said, well, I mean, he worked for General Motors for years, but you know those network marketing pyramid things that people get in? And she's like, oh, yeah. And I was like, he got into one of those, and he was one of the guys that made millions of dollars in it. And she's like, oh, wow. The vocabulary that I figured she would use is that's how she would have described that to her friends anyway. So that's the vocabulary I used. I probably could have recruited her right there. Because she was like, oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Sometimes I'll say, well, you know those Avon, Amway, Mary Kay things? Because those are three companies people have heard about. Usually, what I find is, Avon and Mary Kay don't have the same stigma because people have gone to a party or they've been well out there where people have known or used the product or bought it or been given stuff. Amway I throw in the mix because that sometimes has a negative connotation because of not the companies that are bad, it's just the way that people presented it years ago. And she agreed. So sometimes when I contact people, I mean, you think I'd laugh. When you get to a point where you got this down outright, blah, 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 I'll come right out and say that to some people. They'll be like, is this one of those pyramid network marketing things? Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, have you ever been in anything? I said, are you like, or I'll say, are you like me where you had never met anybody who had been successful in them? And they're like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. I said, well, I ended up getting involved. I found the successful people, and I found they were doing different things. Go ahead.
We have a new guest. I'm just waving at our new guest.
So anybody else have anything? What did I miss? Go ahead, Bess.
I do have a question. On your little chart, you said no matter what their response, yes, no, you know, what company is what, you always say, are you available for a phone interview right now? Mm-hmm. So do you even see that when they say no, you know, you're still looking for work, no?
No. Obviously, I said, that's how I started. I said, if they say no, obviously you know to move to the next person.
Okay. Yeah.
Every other response other than no.
All right. You'll need to take that no off that list then.
If it's I hate you, probably not moving forward. I mean, use right. Common sense, you know.
Okay. When you describe average earning, or you know what? Okay, there's some people have made six figures with this. The FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, says only put in your ads and advertising. Only put out there what's the average, and they can actually call you on that to verify that you have done the research and you can prove that what you say on there is the average. I don't always adhere to that because it's very
tempting. That's why I say the top earners only. Mm-hmm. Because that is the average of the top earners. Actually, it's probably low for the top earners. Because if you look at the chart all the way on the end, because I've seen a bunch of those compliance charts, it's like less than point blah, blah, blah % of the people. The top earners have earned over $100,000.
Okay, maybe that's the way.
What I'm saying is that I actually asked a guy who does compliance for 150 companies, because we got into a conversation about this. He's like, technically, you're right, but they could still call you out on it. He's like, but they're not. He's like, they're not going to bring up a lawsuit unless you're selling those leads to somebody else for millions of dollars, and somebody gets screwed. That's how they're going to come back on you.
Okay.
I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Okay, thank you. So
I will never put in false information, but it's worded very specifically.
Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe that would work.
It's literally the gray line.
Yeah.
And that's why this whole thing is, learning business, and you do it at your own risk. I mean, that's why there's so much money to be made, is because there is still risk here.
Used to be, if it was true, you could say anything, but then about 5 or 6 years ago, they came out with, okay, now you can only say what's average, but perhaps if it's qualified that way. Frank Kern is somebody that is working with the FTC on that and educating people.
Yep. The average person in network marketing makes nothing.
Right, yeah. I really like the gigs category of Craigslist because I read that 70% of people in the U.S. have something on the side.
Yeah.
So they could be very attracted to that without putting a pressure on, well, I need to make money with it right now, but evolve it and maybe see, maybe this could replace my job. But gigs is something that most people like and do.
And you have to do it in a big area. If you're in Timbuktu and you put it in the gig section and there's only one ad there, that's a sign that nobody else is advertising there. Do not put an ad there.
Mm.
I mean, it could net you one person that could build a business to the top, don't get me wrong. But, like, if you want to get good at leads, you put it in a bigger section. I mean, make sure there's ads there. That was kind of how I gauged whether it was a good area or not. Are there other people? And then read the other gigs that are there, If you're the best one, that's good. If everybody's like, hey, we're picking up trash on Sunday at this guy's house, $5, $20, bring your truck. That's what you'll see in there. Hey, I have this equipment that needs moved. We're moving Sunday. We need help packing. There's yard work to be done. I mean, there's all kinds of weird stuff. There's, hey, I need a band. I need a DJ for the weekend. I need a photographer at a discount. Those are the kind of things that are in gigs. So when you put this kind of ad out there, people are like, oh, wow, that's different. That's interesting. Let me see what that is.
Mm-hmm. And I like testing ads. So you can run one for a week and see kind of results you get and then try another word or another.
For $5, guys, you will not find anything out there at that cost that I know of.
And keep track of the results so that you know which ones then try a few out and then you know which ones to run more.
Yep. Okay, we got about 10, 15 minutes. I mean, I'll go for as long as people have questions, but if anybody would like to unmute themselves, unmute yourself, ask questions. What about how many places will you have? I mean, I'll put up as many as I find, and then, obviously there's other students on here who also have access and who have bought leads before. If you would like to share with us where you're buying leads and what works, please put it up there. And if you're like, no, I'm keeping this one for myself.
I've recommended before that our students in the school buy them from Tim Sales. He's a friend, a real ethical person. I like him. Met him at Eric Warriors Go Probe and following Tim Sales for a long time. So you could probably Google him and leads, and he sells leads. Don't know the prices, but there's one source.
Okay. What else? Great question, by the way, guys. I mean, this is good.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you have takeaways, what did you learn from this? Like, did this help?
Do you know of any place that sells like 1 cent or 10 cent leads, or is that like back in the day?
I don't know of any right now, but I would Google it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it helped. I've seen ads, leads from selling companies. Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of places out there that say they do it, but then you want to read the reviews, make sure you find somebody who can back it up,
Who's going to try this? Who's going to do this and use it?
I'm going to.
Hi, guys.
I will.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I just wanted to chime in real quick. I can't see. Matter of fact, what I'm looking at is blurry because I've got an eye issue going on, and I've been putting these eye drops in my eyes that dilate my eyes, so I can't read or see. However, I'm listening to what's going on, and I can't see enough to type anything.
Oh, that's okay, man.
Yeah. I could earlier, but after I put these eye drops in, I'm dilated and I can't. My eyes are dilated. I can't see. But I wanted to say, you guys, the training was amazing, and it's step by step. This is what you do. If somebody wants to go to work, I've created some leads on Craigslist before. Yep. I paid $45 for a sales in the sales section in Chicago, and got maybe 40 to 50 leads from that over the course of the month. And so it definitely works. I think what you put, the examples that you gave may work better than what I put. I'm definitely going to apply what you guys shared. So thank you.
Awesome. And hopefully your eyes will be better so that way you can read the leads that are coming in too. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, David.
Very cool. Yeah, I look forward to that. Linda also just wrote and said that, you know, she really liked the training. It's going to help. Any specific breakthroughs or takeaways that you know you got out of this? That's open to anybody.
What's your favorite thing you got?
I like the ad creation on Facebook. I knew this one gal who would like search through Craigslist to find people to, you know, get them chasing people. And I like how you're not doing the chasing, you're inviting.
Right. Yeah, this is pulling. So there's push and pull. Push is, I've got a list of friends, I'm going to push this out into the market. This is pulling people to you and then pre-qualifying them and narrowing them down. So it is, quote unquote, a system that funnels people through, although it's not building a sales funnel, but that's kind of the process that we're doing. And here's the thing, until you can do this, what I'm talking about, building a funnel will never work for you. And I just say that because I've worked with so many people who have tried it.
And what about, like, LinkedIn? You can search for people looking for opportunities or work or something, you know, whatever.
I would certainly try to use this for that kind of person. Same text message. Okay. Hey, my office passed me. Well, where did you get it from? I think LinkedIn. Our office pulls from LinkedIn. Our office pulls from resumes. Our office pulls from, you know, Craigslist. I don't know exactly where. And sometimes that's what I would do because I would get so many incoming phone calls. I have all of my leads directed to one phone number. Just to let you guys know how I did that, I went and got a Google number that's specific to Inner Circle Marketing. So anytime I put an ad out there, that's where that lead is directed. So the sign you saw last night, David, that you called was actually from that's a Google number for my real estate company. So I actually saw that pop up, and I was like, oh, he called the sign.
And then that number's tied to your phone.
Go ahead. Yeah, that number's tied to me, which is sent and emailed or a text message over to me.
Okay.
But also it's captured on my email, so I'll get an email as well. Hey, somebody just called your Google number and left a message, and then everything's sitting there. And I like to do it that way because, you know, how many times have we ever dropped a phone, broken a phone, you know, your phone gets stolen, you know, sometimes that happens, and then all of a sudden all your messages, all your work's gone. This way it's all tied to Gmail. Like, if Google shuts down, you were going to lose it anyway. So I've done this lead program with network marketing, real estate, massage. What else have I done it with? There's at least one more. I mean, I've at least done it in 4 industries. and it's the same process, works every time. The wording's slightly different, but
that was one of my favorite takeaways from this is the organization of setting up another line, setting up a Google phone number. That way, because I run a tile business, and so I've got phone calls coming in all the time, personal, top from the tile company, and then I add this in the mix, and it's not that, it doesn't take that long for the text message to get way down on the list, and I just completely forget about it.
Yep.
And so having those organized where all your leads are going to one number, that would be really helpful.
It helps you switch gears without getting confused, because then you're reading, like those of us with ADHD, which is basically everybody here, that look back, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, I forgot to text message my friend back, and I forgot to Facebook this guy, and I forgot to, man, all my leads are in one place. I just go there, I print them out, or I write them down, and I'm like, okay, now it's work time. Totally agree.
I know a place where you can get 100 leads for $15, and once you've contacted them, they'll send you another 100.
I've heard about.
I don't know. I don't remember exactly how it goes, but I'll send it to you. Where do we send it?
That's in the Facebook.
Recruiting on Demand.
Yeah, right.
Facebook group, but yeah, if you can send that in the Facebook group or just instant message me on Facebook, send it, put it in the Millionaire Club. We'll transfer that over to the Facebook group. That's a great one. Yeah. I've heard about 2 or 3 systems that do that.
MLM Recruiting on Demand does that.
Okay.
That's what I was talking about. They give you a list of people that either are in or were in some kind of direct selling network marketing.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
One thing that I've done, and somebody was asking about penny leads. If you just want cheap leads for practice, one thing that you can do is go to Fiverr, and Fiverr will give you can get 30,000 leads of for like $5, $10, and so that I've done that before. I've got some really good lead lists. You have to specify that you want phone numbers and emails.
Right.
But I've gotten some really good lead lists where they were people that were in network marketing companies in the past, and I've gotten some that all the numbers are like disconnected. That like the lead lists are horrible. So it's a shot in the dark. But if you get a good list, you've got thousands for $10. So that's an option.
I like it.
For practice.
So buy at your own risk.
Yeah.
That's a great one, Becky. Awesome, and thank you for that. What else?
Did you see a couple more questions at the end of the chat?
I didn't. So let me look here.
Chris says he likes the script, the role play.
Yep.
Even though I wasn't tough, I could have been ornery, but I was, not too tough.
But that's pretty common. I mean, they will ask 1 or 2 questions. I mean, that's and most people are like kind of compliant after. Is there an average number for this type of marketing, pre-qualifying 100? It really depends on your skill level. Because I've had people who have done leads before, and they get on and they start this, and they're like 1 out of 5. I mean, it was incredible. One of my friends, it was like 1 out of 6,000. They were just like, I was like, look, your phone skills need work. The volume in which you do this, you're distracted. You're washing the dishes. You're petting the dog. You're trying to, put together a computer in the background. Like, it's going to take you centuries to do this. You have to get serious. And I am serious about it. Yeah, we can tell. So it really has a lot to do with your personal, persistence and professionalism when it comes to how you're doing it, not who you're talking to. Doris says, I I've been too friendly. That's one of the biggest things I see with people who try leads is they're trying to be friends with people and they're not coming across like an authority. And the person just is like, nope. I mean, just that fast. Nope, this is not, I can tell right away. They're looking for somebody to lead them. And if you're like, yeah, hey, how's it going? The weather's great today. I mean, you can be positive, but you're just too nice, too friendly. And it's just like, this person, no. I can tell right away.
This is going to be a big step up for you, Doris, and I totally see you acing this.
Yeah, it's going to change some people's lives, literally. I like to role play. You did. I wonder if it goes to a different job, server, restaurant, cook. Yeah, I mean, it's different for everybody. I mean, sometimes, man, one of the nicest guys I talked to recently when I did this, he's like, hold on, let me stop. And I was like, stop? He's like, yeah, I was riding my bike. He's like, I really want to talk to you. Can you talk to me? Yeah. He's like, yeah, I want to talk right now. And he's like, look, he told me, he's like, I'm in a real tough situation. I got in a car accident. The other person didn't have insurance. I lost my car because I didn't have gap insurance. And, we lost our house. I couldn't get to work. And I'm literally riding a bike to the gas station. I work at the gas station, and I work at this other job, and I'm just trying to get enough money to buy a car. If this is an opportunity, I'll ride anywhere in the city. I don't care what the weather is. I'll take a bus. I'll walk. I mean, motivated. Nicest guy in the world.
Awesome.
I said, look, I said, this is more, and I told him exactly what we, in depth what we were doing. I said, look, this is who we are. This is what we do. And he's like, I need it. I need the product. But right now, I'm in such a bad situation. It's just not. I said, I agree. I said, timing-wise, you need to focus on getting transportation and getting back on your feet. I said, but if it's okay, I'll save your number on my phone. I've got a message in here for 6 months. We're going to talk in 6 months. And if it's together and you're ready, if it comes together sooner than that, you call me. So, Steve, I'd like to roll. Okay. Kitty says, and ask those leads for referrals. Yeah, I mean, you can. I mean, but if leads are coming in fast, I mean, I've done that. I've done that where I've pitched to the business to somebody. I said, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your interest? They're like 0. I said, okay, cool. They're like, nothing against you, but it's just, it's not for me. I said, great. If you'd run into anybody who would be a good fit for this, send them our way. And I've gotten leads. I've had people refer. They're like, absolutely, yeah. They're like, I like the way you did it. I mean, it's because of how I did it, it's professional. People are like, I just can't believe this is network marketing. Like this, just you did what the process you used is so different that, man, it almost sounds appealing to somebody who hates network marketing. I said, good. That's the point.
The cheaper the lead, the less time you're going to want to spend trying to pre-qualify a new person that they refer.
How would you react differently? Steve, what you're looking for is, it's called mirror match. Mirror match. So I mirror the person. I try to figure out what is their cadence, what is their tonality, what is the speed at which they're talking, and I just want to be one level above. I don't want to be like super distant, where I'm coming across like drill sergeant and this person's super nice. I just want to be a step above, a little bit faster, a little bit more on the ball. Like when I called New York, I had to check myself that I was ready because those people are so like boom, 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 let's go, let's go, let's go. What's this about? And they were more likely to ask questions and cut me off. And at first I was really offended, but then I got to know some people out there. I'm like, that's just the way they talk. They're just so into it. They're just like, okay, so what about this? Okay, well, what about that? Okay, I'll get to that. I'll get to that. Like, I finally learned how they talked, and I got it down. It took me a little bit. But it was an adjustment to the East Coast kind of thing. So you mirror match the person. You want to be basically one step above, maybe 2. Lewis says it's a great training. We appreciate it. Guys, we're just after 5. I told everybody I would go to this point. I will stay on longer, but I would like to turn off the recording for the people who, said that they want to take this time. I like to kind of be congruent with what we're saying, and we kind of screwed up a little bit in the beginning, so I appreciate everybody for being on, even a little extra. But I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording at this point. If you do have further questions, no problem. Put those in the Facebook group. Instant message me. It's better if they're in the Facebook group, unless it's something personal. I totally get if it's personal and you want to just as a message me. But if it's like for a group question, lead question, make sure we put that over there. And then I'm going to get the rest of these documents over because in most Facebook groups, there's a place for documents, but this Facebook group, I don't know if it's a difference between a page and a business or whatever. I have to put it in the messenger system. If not, I'll email them to everybody so everybody has all of the scripts and the leads and the ads and what to put. If you're missing anything, please message me and I'll get it to you. Cool, yeah, definitely fix your audio, Steve, so that way you can be clear on these calls and be clear with everybody else. So again, the PDFs are going to be in the Facebook group, The Art and Science of Leads. And then I'll email them out.
I have to run.